We had some surprise injuries popping up on the injury report today, ladies and gentlemen. Not exactly what we wanted to see. I mean, we have Brock Purdy going into concussion protocol. Yeah, that's not good, ladies and gentlemen. You have TJ Hawkinson not practicing today. I think Hawkinson should play. Not going to be too concerned about it. Raheem Mostert does not practice. Not really concerned. Tyreek Hill does not practice. Not too concerned. Keep in mind with some of these veterans, right? I mean, these are going to be guys that, like Raheem Mostert, or 31-year-old running back. It's Wednesday. You're taking a beating every single week. You want to take Wednesday off. If it's a rookie going out there and missing practice, it's a little more concerning. A 31-year-old running back, someone like Tyreek Hill, they don't need to be at practice on Wednesday, of course. Gerald Everett, Joshua Palmer, neither of them practiced today either. Tank Dell will be fully good to go. Bijan Robinson will be fully good to go. Treylon Burks gets a full practice in, and it looks like Treylon Burks will be fully good to go as well. So if you still somehow DeAndre Hopkins, make sure you get the man off your roster. Then Ryan Tannehill does not practice. So what we're actually going to see is we are going to see a combination of Will Levis, Malik Willis this next week, with supposedly Will Levis getting the majority of the work. Now, with that being said, I need to be fully transparent with y'all. There is probably no player I am rooting for harder this year in fantasy football, or just to have success overall, than Malik Willis. I mean, this is someone that I interviewed at the draft. He threw me a massive bone, gave me a phenomenal interview, went out of his way when he did not have to. And yeah, I mean, I am forever indebted to Will Levis, and I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure we are his number one supporter and his number one cheerleader. Now, beyond that, DK Metcalf will be planning on playing this week. Jalen Hurts will be fully good to go. No concerns. Zach Moss does not practice. We will continue to monitor. Zach Charbonnet will be good to go. No concerns. The primary thing that we have, as we were talking about, actually, well, we'll get back to Brock Purdy. Aaron Jones does not practice. Miles Sanders does practice. Roshan Johnson does practice. But let's go back over to what we have with Brock Purdy. Because Brock Purdy entering into concussion protocol is not great whenever you consider the fact that what we have seen with the new concussion protocol system this season is we have seen consistently that a quarterback, it doesn't matter if it's a quarterback running, it doesn't matter. If you are in the concussion protocol, typically you're missing 1 week minimum. Please let me know in the live chat right now if I am missing anybody. I see people asking what happened to Tyreek. I know Tyreek missed practice with a hip. If he misses practice on Thursday, I'm going to be more concerned about Tyreek Hill. As of now, I'm planning on playing Tyreek Hill. The guy that I'm more so concerned about is Brock Purdy. Let me know if we've had a single player this season that you can think of enter concussion protocol and then be good to go immediately after. Because if you're looking at the spread of this game between the Bengals and the 49ers, it opened up with the 49ers as 5.5-point favorites. Now you actually have the 49ers only as 3-point favorites in this game. So the line has moved with this news. I don't know how excited we can be about the receivers in San Francisco if Purdy were to miss. And I see people asking about Kenneth Walker. Let me pull up the most recent report that we have with Kenneth Walker. And then, like we discussed, Zach Charbonnet was at practice. I do expect that Zach Charbonnet will be good to go. So if Kenneth Walker were to miss, we would rank Zach Charbonnet as a must-start running back. Okay. Let's pull this up. I do not see any concerning updates. Obviously, you did not have him practicing with the calf. But I don't see anybody out there on at least Twitter saying that he's most likely going to miss this week. I'm still operating under the assumption that Kenneth Walker will play. Going back to what we were talking about previously, these running backs that just have massive workloads on a week-to-week perspective, I am completely fine with them missing practice, at least on Wednesday. Obviously, once we get to Thursday, once we get to Friday, they better be at practice. And if they're not, it will be much, much more concerning. But until then, I think we're chilling with them. But I think that should be it for the injury updates. If y'all have any more questions, please let me know in the live chat. And let me go ahead, pull up the other donation questions that we have. And as we do this, if you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can always find that link in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK is always going to get you a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings, and a Josh Allen special pick'em more than less than half a total yard for Thursday. That will only be for new people on Underdog with code FLOCK. However, we also have a Flock exclusive for people that have been on Underdog for 2 years, a year, maybe a day, or if you sign up today, if you sign up tomorrow, you're going to get the Flock exclusive as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown more than less than half a total yard for Monday night. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that while you can, ladies and gentlemen. But let's move this over. And Dave with our first question says, would you trade Tyreek and Ramondre for Lamb and Bijan? So Ramondre to Lamb, clear upgrade. Tyreek to Bijan, clear downgrade. I'm probably going to go with the best player in the deal. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill, assuming that this Tyreek Hill injury is not too serious. Now, Country Connected, always happy to see us, says 5-2, think I can win it. We have Stafford, Ramondre, Mixon, Mostert, Brees, Brian Robinson, Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Keenan, Laporta. Traded Mixon for Bijan. Hell yes, phenomenal. And then I would say in the long term, yes, we're going to be looking to trade for an elite level quarterback. In the short term, however, we're probably just going to be a little bit patient here, waiting until we get Justin Jefferson back in. Rusty says trade Allen for A.J. Brown. Yes, I would rather have A.J. Brown over Josh Allen. Country Connected says 2-5. Dak, Henry, White, Connor, Akers, Deontay, Kupp, Kittle, Amari. Just traded Sutton for Amari and Akers. What are your thoughts? Competitive league, but happy. I would definitely take Amari here. I mean, I understand that maybe in the short term, you're going to go Sutton while you have no Deshaun Watson and while PJ Walker is the starting quarterback. Obviously, it's hard to assume that PJ Walker is going to be the starter here for the long term, so I think it's a good move. Gavon says Eckler, Devonta Smith, Bourne for Amon-Ra St. Brown and James Cook. Give me Eckler over Amon-Ra St. Brown, James Cook versus Devonta Smith, kind of up to you. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Eckler and Smith side, especially with Eckler already being through his bye. Ethan says 8-team, 4-3, traded Gibbs, London for Eckler. Phenomenal. Love it, my man. 8-team league, Drake London literally does not matter in the slightest. Also, what three do we start this week between Eckler, Hall, Barkley, and DeAndre Swift? I think that we're going to go ahead. I think we're going to be for sure playing Austin Eckler. Beyond that, let me just make sure that we are not messing up any of these matchups here. We have Brees Hall going up against the Giants. We have Saquon Barkley going up against the Jets. And we have DeAndre Swift going up against Washington. I'm probably going to go ahead and start Hall and Barkley. If you really wanted to go through and start Swift over Barkley, given the matchup, not going to fault you for it. Tyler says 3-4, 12-team PPR, single flex. Adams, Smith, Flowers, Pittman, Rice, Eckler, Bijan, Gibbs, Spears. Going against the juggernaut this week. Thanks. Thank you, my friend. We're going to start Devontae Adams and Devonta Smith. I know Smith has been very disappointing, but it's a good matchup that you have going up against the Washington Commanders. Running back, we're going to be going with Eckler and Bijan. And then for the flex spot, this is where it gets close. I think we actually no, we're going to go Michael Pittman over Smith. So go Pittman and Adams at receiver. And then for the flex, it's going to come down between Devonta Smith and the good matchup against Washington, and then Jahmyr Gibbs. If we for sure do not have David Montgomery this week, if Montgomery's going to miss, then I think we go ahead and I think we take Jahmyr Gibbs. If David Montgomery has a shot to play on Monday night, then I think we're just going to play it safe and go with Smith in a good matchup. Now, AM coming out saying 12-team PPR, 3-4. Start Lawrence, Walker, JT, Diggs, Chase, Laporta, Puka. And then on the bench, Jacobs, Charbonnet, Moss, Moore, Singletary, Spears. Do we trade Lawrence and Moss for Burrow, Tua, or another? I would trade Lawrence and Moss for Tua. I think that ultimately you do have Moss just as that premium handcuff back. And then in terms of making that start in our flex, I think that we are going to ultimately start Josh Jacobs here. I think we are going to get Jacobs back in. Dave says, did you hear about what Tua said with Tyreek? We'll get it back eventually. I will panic on Tyreek when we see him miss a Thursday, Friday practice. As of today, we do not have that much information about Tyreek Hill. I am not going to be panic selling Tyreek Hill by any means. I'm still assuming Tyreek plays this week. It's going to be something that we monitor, but by no means am I going out there and panicking with Tyreek. Now, Sebastian says, what's up, Mace? Swift or Bijan rest of season? Huckamores, my man. We're going to go Bijan Robinson. Even though Arthur Smith is out there just trashing the guy. I have no idea why. Gucci Broomstick says, hey, Mason, would you trade Taylor for Pacheco and Smith? Can also substitute for Garrett Wilson. I think, honestly, it's up to you if you really need the wide receiver depth. If it's like a 14-team double flex league, then sure. I would probably rather opt in to keep the best player in the deal, which I perceive to be Jonathan Taylor, if it is a shallower format. Saram, always happy to see us as 3-4, 12-team BBR. We have Hurts, Hall, Javonte, Hunt, AJ Freeman, AJ Brown, Hopkins, Gabe, JSN, Jameson, Odell, Dobbs, Kelsey. Traded Kelsey, Javonte, Hopkins for Bijan and Amari. Was this a decent trade? And who to pick up at tight end? Hopkins to Amari is an upgrade. Kelsey and Javonte for Bijan. I always like the idea of going out there and trading for Bijan. I'll tell you right now, I would say most people would honestly prefer the Travis Kelsey side of this, my friend. So I think from a market value perspective, you probably lost. In reality, I think it could go either way, and I think it's too early to know right now. And then if we're looking at picking someone up at tight end, if we could just go through, if we could find a way to get Dalton Kincaid off waivers, I mean, that would be beautiful. I would say worst case scenario, though, if you can't get Kincaid, then you're probably going to be looking at like Trey McBride with Zach Ertz going on the IR. And then the guy we're going to cut most likely will be Odell Beckham Jr. Now, Fun Guy Chunks coming out saying 4-3, 10-team PBR double flex. We have Tua, Hill, Waddle, Pollard, Walker, Andrews, Evans, Watson, Moss, Foreman, Stroud, JSN, Samuel, Wilson. Being offered Evan Ingram, Kyron Williams, T. Higgins, DeAndre Swift for Kenneth Walker, Andrews, Evans, Moss. Do we accept? So going from Andrews to Evan Ingram, downgrade. Kenneth Walker to Kyron Williams, down. Or let's go Kenneth Walker to DeAndre Swift, lateral move. Mike Evans to T. Higgins, lateral move. Zach Moss to Kyron, probably give me Kyron. I honestly think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to be holding on to Mark Andrews here. My thing is, ultimately, if I'm going to be looking at Kyron Williams, while the workload was insane and while he was an elite level running back early in the season for the Rams, I don't necessarily know if we can just pencil in that workload to be the exact same when he does get back. Okay, now let's move this over. And Dalton's saying 12-team PBR 2-5 record. We have Cousins, Etienne, Jones, Adams, Waddle, Schultz, Olave. And then on the bench, we have Wilson, Edwards, Hubbard, Osborne, Logan Thomas, Foreman, Deshaun Watson. Any moves? Not necessarily. I would say when we have a 2-5 record, obviously we're doing everything that we can to sell long-term production and get short-term production for that lineup. So, I mean, if you could sell Deshaun Watson and like Dalton Schultz and just go get a slight upgrade at tight end, we do it because it's a team that doesn't really care about the long-term upside of Deshaun Watson. But ultimately, I think that we're probably going to be in a spot where we're just kind of chilling on our hands. The Noctorious one says, I have Kyler. Should I start? Who should I start as a quarterback off of waivers? I mean, we have our quarterback rankings coming out tomorrow. I would say quarterbacks that you could possibly get off of the waiver wire right now: Dak, Love, Russ, Minshew. Those would be the guys I'm looking at. Now, Clutchbox has just traded Etienne, Sutton, Singletary, and Henderson for CMC. Phenomenal deal. Singletary, Henderson holding on to the bottom spots of your roster. Sutton holding on to the bottom spot. So we traded ETN for CMC and opened up 3 roster spots. Beautiful trade. Beautiful trade. Wyatt says pick 3 PBR. Puka, Higgins, Ridley, Flowers, JSN. We have Lawrence at quarterback. My opponent has Lamar. Would love to start Flowers for that very reason. We're going to be going Puka, Flowers, Higgins, Ridley. It will be close because you do have the very tough matchup for Higgins going up against the 49ers. I think we're going to monitor the injury reports. I mean, if you're looking at my wide receiver rankings currently, I had Higgins at 29. I had Ridley at 35. Assuming that Higgins is good to go with his rib, as well as hopefully Burrow's closer to being 100%, then I think we go with Higgins. But I definitely want to monitor the injury report before we make that call for sure. Now, Shifty says 10-team PBR 5-2. We have Allen, Laporta, Kamara, Tyreek, Waddle, Laporta, Deontay Palmer. Should we trade Kamara and Kittle for Eckler? Thinking yes. What are your thoughts? I would probably do it whenever we have Laporta here and we're not going to be starting Kittle regardless. I would say that a lot of people in the chat right now would want you to just go ahead and keep Kamara. But yeah, I mean, if I can go get Eckler, especially when Eckler's already through his bye, I would do that. Tillian says 12-team PBR single flex. Lamar, Bijan, Pollard, Diggs, Judy, Andrews, Hall, JT, Osborne, Warren, Kyler, Moss, Josh Reynolds. Should I make moves or sit and wait? Nobody is budging on stud receivers, and I'm 4-3. Okay. Obviously, if we could get that upgrade over Jerry Jeudy, it would make a lot of sense. I would say we're probably not going to be looking to make a move right now outside of just churning through the waiver wire. Is also there's that outside chance that this week you do have Jerry Jeudy getting traded to a better situation, and maybe all of a sudden we have a viable wide receiver too. If nobody's biting on a running back, maybe we could go through and maybe we could try to send Kyler. The thing is, you probably have to wait a week to send Kyler anyway. I see everybody spazzing in the chat about Tyreek Hill. So we'll look up Tyreek Hill a little bit further in depth here. Okay. Okay. I have the Tua interview right here. Let's see if I can play the audio loud enough for everybody to hear.
You can't sleep on. If we couldn't have Tyreek, that would be, tough. But the show goes on. You got to continue to play. And somewhere down the line, we're going to get Tyreek back. And, it has to be one of those things where you never let your foot off the gas and you don't lose that rhythm as a team or as a unit.
Okay, so hopefully that helps y'all out. I am still not panicking with Tyreek Hill until we get more reports today and tomorrow. The only thing that we have right now is we have Tua coming out saying, we'll get him back when we get him back. We got to keep doing our jobs. What is he, in my mind, what is he supposed to say, right? Is he supposed to go out there and go, oh my gosh, this guy's falling down? I don't know, guys. I asked Tyreek how he's feeling. He said he was a little sore. I'm not gonna be able to go practice today. Or he's supposed to come out here and say, hey guys, I rubbed my hands on his hip. He'll be good to go this week. If you're a quarterback in that situation, what else can you say other than, we're going to keep doing our jobs until we get him back. Hopefully we get him back soon. We'll get him back sooner or later. I don't know. In my mind, I'm not panicking if that's our only information. If he's missing practice on Thursday, Friday, I will start to get very concerned. Maybe I'm underreacting here. Maybe I'm being a little bit, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too nonchalant. But Jay says, would he trade away Stroud for Purdy? I honestly probably would rather have Stroud than Purdy, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, just given the passing volume that we've had in Houston. Sean says Collins, Evans, Jacoby, Higgins, Michael Pittman, Rashee Rice. Which three are we going to start? And lastly, Jones or Jacobs? We're going to go Jacobs over Jones. Obviously, both guys have not been great. And then at wide receiver, I think we're going to be playing Jacoby Myers, Mike Evans. Ooh, actually, we're going to go Michael Pittman, Mike Evans. And then probably Jacoby Myers, right? No, I want Nico Collins said. Definitely play Michael Pittman. And then if you're looking at my rankings, I have Nico, Myers, Evans, back-to-back-to-back, 17, 18, 19. So play Pittman, bench Rashee Rice, and then bench T. Higgins, and then bench your two guys between Myers. Pick your two guys between Myers, Nico, and Evans. Now, Go Bill says pick 3 full BBR, Kamara, Etienne, Walker, and Saquon. So we're going to have to continue to monitor the injury that we have with Kenneth Walker at the moment. But if we had to go through and bench one of these guys, I think the bench would be Saquon Barkley going up against the Jets. But we're going to be waiting. We're going to be waiting. Now, Crimson Tide says, help me out. 12-team at BBR double flex, no defense. 2 and 5. We have Hurts, Eckler, Saquon, Wilson, Deontay, Lockett, Hopkins, Rice, Dell, Downs, Kincaid, and Taysom. I would say, honestly, at this point, drop Taysom if we have Dalton Kincaid good to go. I think that you're going to be able to go through and pick up a running back off waivers that's maybe an injury away to actually having a higher ceiling. So if I could go through and drop Taysom Hill, I think I would definitely do that. Roll with Kincaid. I think it's a fine team, right? It's understandable why we're 2 and 5. You have the Deontay Johnson injury, the Saquon Barkley injury, and the Austin Eckler injury. You were decimated with 3 injuries earlier in the season. I think you're going to be in a much better situation here. And I don't necessarily think that you need to go out there and panic by any means. Now, Peace Among Worlds coming out saying 12-team Happy BR double flex at 3 and 4. We have Fields, CMC, JT, Waddle, Wilson, Hollywood, Javonte Kittle. What are your thoughts? Tweet the previously asked question. Ramondre Downs, Foreman for DJ Moore, Rashad, and Spears. So going from Ramondre to Rashad White, up to you. Probably give me Rashad White. Going from Deonta Foreman and Downs versus DJ Moore and Spears. Give me DJ Moore and Spears. Yeah, so I think we're going to go ahead. We will make that deal. I mean, Deonta Foreman really had value last week. Going forward, I don't necessarily think how excited we are about it. So honestly, I think it's a very good team. Maybe an interesting spot to see what we could get for Kittle as well. And that Kittle has seen that spike over the past few weeks with no Deebo Samuel. And I don't necessarily know how predictive this is going forward. Now, Sharp says Stroud, Bijan, Brees, Javonte, Roshan Diggs, Waddle, Ayuk, Deontay Watson, Downs, Jason, Waller. Double flex. Trade Waller and Javonte for Tony Pollard. For sure, I'm going to do this. Even in a double flex league, we have the wide receiver depth with guys like Watson and Deontay coming back in. Obviously, maybe if everybody who's panicking in the chat thinking that Tyreek Hill is going to be out for the season or something, then probably would keep Waddle, but I don't necessarily think that's something we need to be worried about. I mean, I'm not panicking on Tyreek like everybody else at the moment, but like I said, if you miss practice on Thursday and Friday, then maybe it's a little bit of a different story. Now, Batman Gaming coming out saying, Happy BR, 3 receivers, 2 flex. We have Lawrence, Stroud, Henry, Walker, Mixon, Spears, Mitchell, Dowdle, Hill, Ridley, Moore, Davis, Osborne, Zay Jones, Hardman, Freiermuth, Myers. Would you trade Moore and Dowdle? I want to be on the same page. Dowdle has literally 0 value. So would we trade DJ Moore for DeAndre Hopkins and T. Higgins? First off, I think it's a strong team. Second off, I think with this style format, we definitely want to be going out there and chasing that depth. I mean, we have easy cuts at the bottom end of the roster where, I mean, adding on depth doesn't really bring us any extra cost either. You can go through and cut Hardman, no issue. Send off Dowdle, no issue. So yes, honestly, I think we're going to go out there and get Higgins and Hopkins. But specifically in a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex league, I think that actually in that format, maybe you could go out there. Maybe you could use DeAndre Hopkins. Now, Cameron says 18 BBR single flex. 5 and 2. We have Mahomes, Etienne, Jacobs, AJ Brown, Adams, Hawkinson, Waddle. And then on the bench, we have Nico, Moss, Dell, Rice, Kincaid, Downs, Achane. Any moves you think we should make to win the league? So obviously, 8-team league, depth's going to matter significantly less. So any chance we get to make that 2-for-1 deal, or maybe if we can sell Achane and Hawkinson and go get Kelsey, that would be an absolute no-brainer. And outside of that, I mean, honestly, I think we're kind of chilling. If we could sell like Downs and Rice or Adele and Moss, just any 2-for-1 deals down there on the bench to get that upgrade since it's an 8-team format, I would look to do that. And obviously, if we can ever go out there and afford someone like Kelsey, we're making that move. Stefano says, PBR, I'm 5 and 2. Trade Puka for Adams where we have Cup. Can everybody spam the chat right now? Let me know in the live chat. Are you going to go Puka or Devontae Adams? You're 5 and 2. You have Cooper Kupp on the same roster. Are you going Devontae Adams or Puka? Please let me know, ladies and gentlemen. We got Puka, Adams, Puka, Puka, Adams, Puka, Adams, Puka, Adams. Okay, so it looks like we are allowed to say Adams. As long as we're making sure we are allowed to say Adams. Stanley said we're going to go Adams. Diggs and Schultz for Kupp and Andrews. I would definitely go Kupp and Andrews there. Alex says, hey, Mason, when you trade Montgomery for Puka, we have Pollard, Jacobs, Ayuk, Diggs, DK, DJ. And when you flip Jacobs for another receiver for Jonathan Taylor. Depends, like, obviously not a wide receiver that you just mentioned, but if we have a wide receiver down there on the bench that we don't necessarily need, then sure. Montgomery for Puka. If it's a non-PPR format, give me Montgomery. If it's a full PPR league, give me Puka. Now, C. Banger says trade Pacheco and receive James Cook and Pierce. Actually, no, never mind. I read this backwards. We have Bijan, Pacheco, Henderson, Algier, Roshan. We have Allen as well. I would rather have Pacheco, honestly, especially as you have Pacheco going up against Denver, where this is, just the easiest matchup you could ever ask for. So honestly, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to hold on to Pacheco. And if you wanted to sell, maybe next week would be better. Elite Henry says, Arby's to target with Kupp and Kamara. We have wide receiver depth. I don't know. How high can you go? Obviously, CMC. If you could trade Kupp and Kamara for CMC, you do it. Do you trade Kupp and Kamara for Eckler? Do you trade him for ETN? Do you trade him for Bijan? Probably not. Trade him for Pollard? Probably not. So, the issue is, we're just giving up too much value. I'd say a CMC or bust. And then, obviously, you could tier down at wide receiver if you wanted something else. Fall says, Eckler owners looking for an upgraded receiver. Is Jacobs in London fair? I would definitely rather have Eckler there. I honestly wouldn't even call it fair. I think Eckler wins by a mile, and I have way more Jacobs than Eckler. Or would I need to do something like Jacobs and Smith to get Eckler and someone else? I would do either one. And also, is Smith and Kittle for Chase? We have Kincaid. Every single one of these trades, you are winning, my friend. Every single one of these deals, you are winning. I would do any of them. Now, C. Mello says we have Etienne and Walker. Do we roster Bigsby or Charbonnet? Given the injury news that we have with Kenneth Walker, not panicking, but this will be something we have to continue to monitor. I would go through and I would go Zach Charbonnet. Or drop Warren. I'm not going to drop Warren. We had roster Warren and Charbonnet, drop Bigsby. And also, we traded Lockett for Javonte. I don't really like either player. It's up to you. Now, CR says 4-3, traded Evans and Kareem Hunt for Jonathan Taylor. Good move. Other running backs are Mixon and Connor. Receivers are Kupp, Puka, Diggs, Olave. I think it makes so much sense if you have that wide receiver depth. Kevin, happy to see us. Sub Mason, need help making 2 trade packages for Jefferson and JT out of these players. Myers, Smith, Godwin, Palmer, Downs, Jacobs, White, and Joku, Kyron. Jefferson owner offered me Jacobs and Downs, but I need them till. Maybe I'm being overly dramatic here, but for Justin Jefferson, I would trade any combination of those 2 guys for Jefferson. If it's Jacobs and Myers, Jacobs and Smith, Myers and Smith, Palmer and Godwin, Godwin and Myers, Godwin and Jacobs, White and Godwin, White and Myers. I don't care. I would trade any 2 players in a package to go get Jefferson there. Now, beyond that, for Jonathan Taylor, I don't necessarily know if we're going to be selling those wide receivers at the very top end. If you could sell like Jacobs and Palmer, Jacobs and Downs, maybe Jacobs and Godwin, I think that would make sense for JT. Alex says 5-2, non-PPR, long touchdown bonus, traded Puka and Gibbs for HN, Olave, Najee. My running backs are Eckler, Montgomery. Receivers are Keenan and Nico. What are your thoughts? Non-PPR format, I think Puka and Gibbs are worth less than they would be in a full PPR league. I think you definitely prefer Devon Achane there over Gibbs. Puka versus Olave and Najee. Full PPR format's Puka, not close. Non-PPR format's a little bit closer. So yeah, honestly, I think we are going to go Achane, Olave, and Najee here. We're going to go Achane, Olave, and Najee. Horizon says 10-team, full PPR double flex. Hill, Kincaid for Adams, Walker, Laporta. Give me Laporta over Kincaid. Hill versus Adams, Walker. Fair deal in a double flex format. We have Pollard, Jones, DK, Hollywood, Palmer, Pierce, Foreman, Spears, Bourne. If you wanted to go out there in a league where we lack a little bit of depth and trade Tyreek Hill and Kincaid for Adams, Walker, and Laporta, I am not going to fault you for it with it being a double flex league. Like I said, I do not want you to be going out there and panicking and selling low on Tyreek Hill because of, him missing practice today. But at that price point, it does seem like a very reasonable move. Derek says we have Diggs, Brown, Puka, Evans, Watson. Etienne, Taylor, Gibbs, HN, Sanders. We got offered Jefferson and Swift for Puka and Etienne. So give me Jefferson over Puka. Give me Etienne over Swift. I think it does come down to your record. If you're sitting here, you're 5-2, 4-3, 6-1. We can think a little more long-term. Yeah, we probably go ahead and do it. Now, Younglock says, hey, Mason, in a 12-team PPR format, should we trade Eckler? No, sir. Concerned about Eckler's ankle this year. Who should we target? I was screaming from the rooftops not to draft Austin Eckler this season. Eckler was my least drafted round one player all offseason. But with that being said, it's because his age, the risk of injury at said age, which honestly maybe you are still concerned about, but he's healthy as of now, or healthy-ish. And more importantly, adding in Quentin Johnson, having Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnson, I thought the target volume may go down based off what we've historically seen when you add healthy wide receivers here for the Chargers. But now Quentin Johnson's legitimately nothing. Mike Williams is out for the year. It's a full PPR format. So even though I do not have Eckler on many teams, I still think Eckler's a top 3 running back rest of season. I think he's in a much better spot now than he was when you drafted him. Now, Lid says 10-team PPR 2 and 4. Should we trade Eckler for Saquon and Myers or Eckler, Higgins for Pollard, Gibbs? I probably hold on to Eckler. I know Eckler's the reason why we are 2 and 5. I just got done talking about why I think that. I was lower on everybody than Eckler to start the season. Now I'm kind of carrying water for Austin Eckler here. But yeah, if you have no Mike Williams, you are just going to get a considerable amount of target volume in Los Angeles. Cheat Sean coming out saying 12-team, have BBR 4 and 3. Got offered Kamara for Jacobs. What do you think? Our running backs are Walker, Taylor, HN, Kyron. And our receivers are Diggs, Puka, Watson. Half PBR format, it's going to be closer. Full PBR league, I think we would take Kamara. Let me go ahead and let me just pull up flockfantasy.com and I can tell you exactly where I have these guys. We are submitting our rankings on flockfantasy.com for a full PPR league, so we will need to make somewhat of an adjustment. Okay. Currently, I have Alvin Kamara ranked at RB10. I have Josh Jacobs ranked at RB12. That's for a full PBR league. I think in a half PBR league, it's much closer, and it is up to you. It's honestly, they're neck and neck. I don't know which way I'd go. Laker 9 are always happy to see us as 5-2, 14-team double flex, quarter point PBR. Can only start 2 running backs weekly, and we have Kamara, Brees, James Cook. Starts it every week or trade one. I'd be starting Kamara, Brees. Honestly, in a quarter point PBR, I think we probably go ahead and look to sell Kamara. We also have Goff, Stroud, Olave, Wilson, Evans, Dobbs, Osborne, Laporta, and Jeff Wilson. The phenomenal team in a 14-team league. But yeah, if you could sell, say, Kamara and Goff or Kamara and Stroud and go get Allen, Mahomes, or Hurts, I think that would make a lot of sense here if you can only start up to 2 wide receivers at the very most. Now, King Flores says, thinking about offering Tua, Ford, Pittman for Adams and Connor. Burrow is my backup quarterback, thinking about upside for the playoffs. Okay. Give me Adams over Pittman. Give me Connor over Ford. I think we are maybe paying a little bit too much when it comes to the value. If instead of like Connor was like Devon Achane, I'd be like a no-brainer, but I don't necessarily know how excited we are for Connor coming back into this offense. I don't know. Now, Nova says 12-team PBR 5-2. We have Dak, Kyler, ETN, Pollard, Lamb, DJ, Pitts, Pittman, JSN, Dobbs, Brian Robinson, Downs. Should I make a move for Ayuk, Higgins, or Bijan? If so, what should we sell? I would say Ayuk, probably not someone that we're going to be looking to buy. I mean, especially if we get Deebo Samuel back in this offense. I would love to go and see if we can buy low on Bijan Robinson. I mean, I'm going to be holding on to ETN and Pollard. But if you could sell, say like, I don't know, DJ Moore, Brian Robinson, and go get Bijan, it would be an absolute no-brainer. And if you could sell, say like a Josh Downs and a small piece and go out there and get T. Higgins, I think we'd look to do that as well. Garrett says, how BBR 4-3? We have Burrow, Walker, Montgomery, Chase, London, Kelsey, Hollywood. And then on the bench, we have White, Ford, Brian Robinson. Want to trade Brian Robinson for a receiver? Should we package with London? Any ideas? Should we go for Olave or Ridley? I would really like this idea overall. I don't necessarily know if Ridley's going to be the guy we're targeting, because the issue with Ridley is not only has he not been productive, but he also hasn't had target volume either. So I'd actually be looking to probably steer clear of Ridley and instead go for guys like Olave. I mean, Olave, Adams, I think that'd make a lot of sense. Zachary says 10-team, have BBR 4-3. Single flex. We have Bijan, Henry, Gibbs, Evans, Myers, Smith, Waddle. Trade Henry, Myers for Pacheco and DK or a different offer. If you're looking at my rest of season rankings, I still do have Derrick Henry ahead of Pacheco. I have Henry RB16, Pacheco RB18. Myers, DK, honestly about the same. I probably prefer Myers as well. So honestly, I'm going to go with Henry and Myers and see if Henry gets traded to a better spot. Okay. So we are actually going to have to go through and I'm going to have to swing this back around to the other screen. So just give me 1 second to do this so we can keep bringing your questions up. And as I do, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. We are, I believe, about 10 likes away from hitting 300 likes on the stream. We have live streamed every single day for 180 days in a row at this point. I've not missed a day since April. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat in the description in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our updated rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to Underdog Fantasy with code FLOCK, you're going to get the usual special pick'em that they have your first time up. Josh Allen, more than less than half a total yard for tomorrow night. But on top of that, since so many of y'all signed up to Underdog last week, Underdog's also hooking up everybody who uses promo code FLOCK with an Amon-Ra St. Brown pick'em for Monday night. That doesn't matter if you signed up today, yesterday, 2 days ago, 2 years ago, you are going to get that second one. So please make sure you take advantage. But Log Bart coming out with our next question. This one says 5-2. Should we sell Keenan Allen for Justin Jefferson? I mean, if you're 5-2, you definitely can go ahead and do it. I assume that maybe you would get a little bit of a better price tag, but if that's the best price you can get, and that's the best price you can get. Now, Asa says, hey, Mason, my friends and I are in a debate. What should the tiebreaker be? After the record, should it be head-to-head or points scored? I go points scored. I mean, I understand the argument. Oh, well, I mean, in the NFL, they do head-to-head, yada, yada, yada. Maybe if you want to focus in on like having rivalries in your league, then head-to-head would be a little bit better. But total points just goes through and instead rewards the best teams, which personally is what I want to do. I always want the best teams to get rewarded the most. Now, J-Ben says 10-team PBR, Tua, Pollard, Swift, Chase, St. Brown, Olave, Andrews, Hunt, Brian Robinson, Osborne, Watson, and Njoku. We got offered Eckler and Jefferson for Chase. I'm 5-2. That is a laughably good trade, my friend. You shouldn't have even wasted your time coming out here and typing this out. If you can trade Jamar Chase for Austin Eckler and Justin Jefferson on a 5-2 roster, that is a no-brainer, my friend. Now, the Weather Dog says sit one, Myers, Nico, or Michael Pittman. If you look at my rankings this week, I have Nico Collins and Myers ranked back-to-back. I'm starting Michael Pittman regardless. Between Nico Collins, Jacoby Myers, it is going to be up to you. Like I said, they are literally back-to-back. King says 10-team full BBR 4-3. How do we improve? We have Burrow, Hill, Myers, Bijan, JT, Kincaid, Ridley. And then on the bench, we have London, Algier, Deontay, Darrell Henderson, and Jefferson on the IR. So, I mean, typically what we're looking to do, right, in a 10-team league where depth isn't really prioritized, we want to sell our depth. We want to go out there. We want to take a piece on the bench and go get an upgrade somewhere in the starting lineup. However, it's going to be more difficult to do that now when we have the injury to Justin Jefferson. I mean, we're more so going to be wanting to sit on our hands and wait till Jefferson gets back, especially if there's an outside chance that Tyreek is going to miss this week. So I hate to say it. I think this is a phenomenal team. And in the long term, when we get Jefferson back in, then we're going to be looking to go through and sell someone like Rice and Dalton Kincaid or Rice and Ridley and go get an upgrade in the flex, go get an upgrade at tight end, go get an upgrade at running back. But in the short term, we need to just wait until we get our wide receivers back in. Alex says, start two, Walker, Lamb, Addison, or Pittman. 4-0 to 4-3. Damn, my man. Oh, my gosh. I'm probably going to go Lamb over Addison. I have Lamb ranked at wide receiver 10, Addison wide receiver 13 this week. I mean, there's a crazy implied team total that you have for the Dallas Cowboys against the Rams. And then I'm probably going to go Kenneth Walker as well, assuming that Kenneth Walker is good to go. Now, Haben says, made 2 moves today. What are your thoughts? 10-team BBR 5-2. Sent Jones and Rice for Kyron Williams. I don't love trading for Kyron in particular. I mean, we don't really know the extent of this ankle. And on top of it, I do think that his absence from this offense just opens up the window slightly for another running back to actually come in and make a difference here. I mean, maybe turn it into a little bit more of a committee, whereas beforehand, obviously, you had just absolutely everything for Kyron Williams. Sit Higgins for Kincaid. I don't know if I love that one either. We have Tua, Pollard, James Cook, Hill, Allen, Kincaid, Ayuk, Thomas. I like the idea of what we did. It's more so, I just don't necessarily know how we feel about the actual players that we got in return. If we could have got like Devon Achane, I would have felt much, much better about this. Now, Daniel says 2-5, 12-team full BBR double flex. We have Goff, Madison, Mixon, Adams, Pittman, Hogginson, Godwin, Reynolds, and then Purdy, Henderson, Spears, Palmer, Jonnu. How are we going to start this in any moves? Don't really have much depth. I would say let's go through and let's move Darrell Henderson or Joshua Palmer in the starting lineup over Josh Reynolds. I would actually probably play Henderson over Madison, Palmer over Reynolds. And then honestly, with this team where we just have absolutely no depth whatsoever, I think you need to go through and you need to just consistently churn that waiver wire. And hopefully we can eventually put together a better bench. Isaiah says trade for Debo to get Myers. So trade away Debo for Myers. Can everybody spam the chat? Would you rather have Debo Samuel or Jacoby Myers rest of season? Debo Samuel or Myers rest of season? And as we wait for y'all in the chat, Anto says 4-3, 10-team at BBR, double flex, 3 receivers. We have Kirk, JT, Pacheco, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Lamb, Schultz, Hopkins, Watson, Dell, Gabe, Roshan, Ford, Strong, Mayer, Achane, Ramadre Flowers for Devon Achane. Or should we keep him? We get offered Pollard, DK for AJ Brown. Tough to let 2 go. So this is a league where you have 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes. So ultimately, the depth is going to matter a lot more here. So honestly, if we're looking at A.J. Brown versus Pollard DK, especially when we already have both these other guys through their bye, I actually may go Pollard DK, whereas if it was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, then I'd say no to that. But honestly, the depth's going to make a difference here. And then Ramondre Flowers for Devon Achane, I think it's going to be up to you. I think obviously in the long term, Achane's a better player. It's how comfortable are you with your depth in the short term? But we got Debo, Myers, Debo. Myers, Debo, Debo. Debo, Myers. So it does look like the majority of the people in the chat have Myers, but it is pretty damn close. Okay. Now, our next switch coming out from Brontosaurus Rex, always happy to see us, says, got Walker for Thielen and Mixon. How do you like the deal? We have AJ, Amon-Ra, Lamb, secondary running backs, Brees, undefeated still. Oh my gosh, that is awesome, my man. And I like it considering what we have at wide receiver. Obviously, Adam Thielen has been much, much better than this price point so far this season. But the question is, do we think that Adam Thielen is going to continue to be as productive as he has been? And honestly, I think he falls back down to earth. I think he's more so a wide receiver, a high-end wide receiver 2 than a mid wide receiver 1 as he's been. Devin says, thanks, Mason. We traded Burrow, Geno, Jacoby, London for Allen, Olave, 12-team happy BR format. So going for Burrow and Geno to Allen, massive upgrade. Jacoby, London to Olave, up to you. But it just doesn't matter because we got the Allen deal. Allen, Etienne, Jacobs, Diggs, Olave, Laporta, Montgomery, Kyler, Palmer, Downs, Deontay. A phenomenal team. I love going out there. And not only did we make that deal, but also we fixed our team construction where we're no longer rostering 3 quarterbacks either. Now, the Mad Capper coming out saying full BBR, quarter point per carry, or completion, half point per carry. We were offered Cousins, Bijan, DK for Jacobs, Allen, Amon-Ra. I want to counter with A.J. Brown for DJ Moore. If you could get A.J. Brown on the Cousins Bijan side instead of DJ Moore, then I think you can go ahead and make the deal. As it stands right now, you cannot do it. I'm an especially Josh Allen in a quarter point per completion and a half point per carry. He is just going to run laps around every other player in that league. Brandon says, just got Bijan for Ramondre and Flowers. What are your thoughts? Love it. Love it. Tyler says, 10-team PBR, 3 receivers and a flex. We have Herbert, Bijan, Tajee, Charbonnet, Hunt, Singletary. Wide receivers are Diggs, Lamb, Wilson, Puka, Deontay, Rashee Rice. Trade Herbert, Wilson for Allen and Henderson. Give me Allen over Herbert. I don't really care about Henderson, so we're essentially selling Garrett Wilson to get it done. It's a 3 wide receiver, 1 flex league. We do have great receivers. I am okay with this deal. I would much prefer selling either Rashee Rice or Deontay Johnson than Garrett Wilson, though. Now, Hot McMuffin coming out saying, Adams and Najee for Brees and Addison in a 10-team league. Give me Brees. Ooh, honestly, very close. I think we're going to go Brees and Addison because Brees and Adams, I think you make an argument for either one. Whereas Addison versus Najee is Addison and not close at this point. Now, Lion says 12-team PPR where we have Stroud, Bijan, Etienne, St. Brown, Keenan, Kupp, Kincaid. And then on the bench, Puka, Taylor, Watson, Thomas, Godwin, London, Achane. Any suggestions? Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so still waiting for HN in the long term, waiting for Watson in the long term. But we have so much depth where we have Puka Taylor down there on the bench currently. So honestly, this is a team where you have an embarrassment of riches where you can go out there and you can afford an elite level quarterback. Like I would love to on this team, go sell Puka and Stroud and get Josh Allen, get Patrick Mahomes, get Jalen Hurts. WTF Huck says, what's up, Mason? 6-1 lineup after this trade. We have Allen, Pacheco, White, Olave, Davis, Kelsey, Watson with Jefferson on the IR. Beautiful. Warren, Hardman. I like him. My man, Jurgen Suggerton and McCall Hardman. Cut McCall Hardman. Gus, rate rest of season. We have the elite quarterback. We have the elite tight end. We're focusing on eye upside guys down there on the bench. Really like the team. The only thing that I would say is let's go through, let's turn the bottom end of that roster. I would rather pick up some running backs that are an injury away for making a difference rather than guys like Brandon Cooks, McCall Hardman. Like I would way rather have the guys that look like Darrell Henderson, Tajee Spears at the bottom end of our team than McCall Hardman or Brandon Cooks, you know. It's like what has to happen for you to ever feel comfortable to put Brandon Cooks or McCall Hardman in your starting lineup? Like how many weeks in a row of volume would you have to see? Now, Tujin just coming out saying full BBR, 2 receivers and a flex. Trade Lamb Taylor for CMC. Oh, hell yes. We have Bijan, Aaron Jones, Spears, Adrian Brown, Kupp, and Judy. Yeah, 2 wide receivers and a flex. Let's just go get the best player in the deal. Now, Beast Mode says 12-team BBR start 2. Smith, London, Hopkins, and Rashee Rice. We're to be going with Devonta Smith and Rashee Rice. Smith is a must-start guy there, just given the fact that, I mean, he has a great matchup going up against Washington. Now, Bruce Gaming coming out says, hey, Mason, would you please drop some knowledge on this question? When is it the time to sit on your team and trust in what you created currently 5-2? I would say you're never going to be sitting on the team entirely. Like, you're never going to be going through and saying, okay, I'm done making moves altogether. However, you can definitely just say, I'm done making trades, right? Instead, I'm going to primarily focus in on the waiver wire. And if you're currently 5-2 and you like the long-term upside if you have your team, you don't have to go out there and make any trades, of course. Now, real quick, let me see what the dog needs. Okay, let's go ahead and let's get to our next question. This one coming from, I believe, Michael says, 10-team PPR, we have Tua, Barkley, Pollard, Chase, Smith, Kincaid, Kirk, and then on the bench, White, Brian Robinson, Hunt, Rashee Rice, HN. 2 and 5, what are your trades? Chase for Breece Hall and DJ Moore. So 100%, we need to go out there and we need to trade for players that are producing right now. How do we want to do this? In a 10-team league, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, do we want to give up our best player? Or instead, would we rather go up and give players that just aren't productive right now, but do have the long-term upside? I would rather go through and do the second one, right? Devon Achane not giving anything right now. Let's go through and let's sell Achane and Kirk, and let's go get an elite level player for that flex spot. That way we can stay alive. We don't want to fall to 2 and 6, right? That's more so going to be the move that we're looking to make. But real quick, let me pivot over and answer this from Awesome Kitty Ninja, longtime member of the vlog, says, Lamar, Diggs, Lockett, Ramadre, White, Kelsey, JT. On the bench, we have Evans, Zeke, Kyler HN on the IR, looking to package something for Jefferson. So, I mean, if you were looking to make a move, I don't want to sell Diggs for Jefferson just yet. I don't want to sell Kelsey for Jefferson just yet. I think it would be beautiful if we could sell like Evans and Ramadre for Justin Jefferson here, or Evans and HN, or throw Kyler in the deal to get it done if we have Lamar as well. That would be the primary move that we would look to make. And if you wanted to wait another week and then next week go out there and sell Kelsey or go out there and sell Diggs for Justin Jefferson, they don't want to fault you at that point if you wanted to make the move. But let's swing this back around. And oh my gosh, night and day difference. Y'all are actually going down there and hitting that like button today. So thank you so much for everybody who's actually dropped that like. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Ryan says, 12-team BBR 5-2. We have 2 flex spots, Lamar, JT, Barkley, Swift, Lamb, Higgins, Addison. And then on the bench, we have Christian Watson, Kyler, JSN, Kincaid, Singletary. Any moves? Got offered Moss and Amon-Ra St. Brown for Jonathan Taylor and T. Higgins. So give me St. Brown over JT. Give me Higgins over Moss. We're looking long-term here since it's a 5-2 roster. Really like that down there on the bench on a 5-2 team. We're focusing on these rookies that are going to continue to expand their roles and get better as the season goes on. So as the team stands, I really do like it. Now, it's interesting for this deal. It's that double flex league, as we mentioned, so depth's going to matter a little bit more here. Can everybody spam the chat? This is your team. You're 5-2. Would you rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Zach Moss or Jonathan Taylor and T. Higgins? Specifically because it's that league where we can start 4 wide receivers, I probably opt to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown. But please let me know. Let me know. Okay, first vote for Amon-Ra. Second vote for Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra, JT, Amon-Ra. Okay, yeah, it looks like people are honestly kind of going back and forth here. I don't know. I honestly think that you could go either way, and it is up to you. I think that's a very fair trade. Now, next question coming out from, I believe John says, love the content. Need to start a running back and 2 flex. Between Gibbs, Cook, McLaurin, Olave, Downs. What are your thoughts? Our running back, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to be starting James Cook. And our 2 flexes, I think we're going to be going with Chris Olave and Jahmyr Gibbs, my friend. Now, Pop Block says, 8-team, happy BR League. We're 5-2 and in second place. I got an offer for Puka and Kamara to get Jefferson, Gibbs, Jacobs. What are your thoughts? Oh, we definitely want Jefferson over Puka under this context. Gibbs and Jacobs versus Kamara. Honestly, just give me the Jefferson side. Give me the best player. Makes so much sense on a 5-2 team where we're thinking long-term, especially in an 8-team league where the upside matters more than the floor. For us to go out and make that play and get the stud in here right now, right? Go get someone like Justin Jefferson. Now, James says traded Etienne for Walker and Myers. Grade the deal. If you really needed a wide receiver, I'm fine with it. I would rather have Etienne over Walker, though. I do like Walker. Michael says traded Pacheco for Gibbs and Achane. Good or bad deal? If you're thinking long-term, I think it's a very good trade. Depends if you need production now or later. Ross says full BBR 10-team, 4-point passing touchdown. 5-2, first place. We have Allen, Lamar, Kamara, Brees, JT, Achane, White, Roshan, Taji, Diggs, Keenan, St. Brown, Watson, Andrews. Second place wants Lamar and White for Flowers and Addison or Higgins. Okay. So White versus Flowers, probably Flowers. It's not too far off. Lamar versus Addison is Lamar, and it's not even close. So I completely understand when we have Allen and Lamar, we definitely need to go through and look to sell one of these quarterbacks, right? However, you just need a higher price tag than this, which is why, honestly, we probably shouldn't draft 2 elite level quarterbacks in the first place. Now, Adam says PBR 5-2. We have Herbert, Bijan, Pollard, DJ, Puka, Nico, Goddard, Barkley. And then on the bench, we have Ridley, Palmer, Higgins, Taylor, Laporta, Jeff Wilson Jr. Any moves? And which running backs are we starting? Okay. If we have 2 viable tight ends like this, I think it would make a lot of sense if you wanted to sell like DJ Moore and Laporta and go get an elite level wide receiver. Running back, we're going to be starting Bijan and Pollard. Bijan, Pollard, and then yes, we're going to be throwing Saquon Barkley in the flex, benching Jonathan Taylor. Long term, I think we can definitely get JTN. Now, AM coming out saying PBR start 2. JT, Puka, Jacobs. Does Lawrence and Moss for Burrow make any sense? Yes, I think that does make sense. And then for our 2, we're going to be going with Puka and, oh my gosh. Assuming it's a full BBR format, you have to go Puka here. Between JT and Jacobs, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor until we see what the workload looks like again for Josh Jacobs. Really want to move away from Lawrence, but don't want to give away too much. Yeah, Lawrence has been not good this year, to be honest, at least in fantasy. I mean, obviously the Jags are winning games, but if you look at the points per game that we've had from Lawrence has averaged 15.5 points per game. That's less than Stroud. That's less than Goff. That's less than Cousins. That's less than Purdy. That's less than Jordan Love. That's less than Russell Wilson. That's less than Sam Howell. It has not been great from a fantasy perspective. Now, moving this over. Katu coming out saying, hey, Mason, looking to trade Lamb and one of the other starting running backs. What are your thoughts? We have Dak, Bijan, Jacobs, Hill, Chase, Goddard, Lamb. And then on the bench, Addison, JT, Dobbs, Purdy, Pitts, Downs, Hunt. Also need to work who to start in the flex. So down there on the bench, really going to come down between either Addison or Jonathan Taylor. I mean, let's assume that it's a full PPR format. You don't say otherwise. Can everybody in the chat please let me know? We're going to start Jordan Addison or Jonathan Taylor this week. Do not start Hunt. Do not start Downs. Do not start Pitts. Do not start Purdy. And then honestly, I think that what I would rather do is I would rather probably go ahead and see if we could package together one of those guys down there at the bottom end of the bench, say like Kareem Hunt, and go send him with Dak, go send him with Purdy to go get a quarterback upgrade. I think that would make a lot of sense. With Lamb, I mean, what I've noticed, at least in the live streams over the years, and it doesn't sound like it should make sense, and it shouldn't be a thing, but I definitely think it is. If you're looking at players that are either going into their bye or coming out of their bye week, just because they've been out of sight and out of mind, typically what I've seen is these guys get a little bit devalued. So I'm not really going to be looking to sell Lamb right now. Let's see what happens. Now, JT, looks like most people here are starting Jonathan Taylor over Jordan Addison. I can't find anybody saying Addison. Okay. Now, Harrison says 7-0, took your advice and traded Mostert and Gibbs for Eckler. Just waiting for Jefferson to come back to finish off the regular. My man, pretty much bagging your backs already, right? You're 7-0. You are in a phenomenal spot. Trying to think, like, what can we do? I mean, we have traded for Eckler. We're getting Jefferson back in. Phenomenal spot. Congrats, my friend. Now, Ray says, would you trade Jacobs for Bijan? Got someone panicking. There are a lot of people panicking with Bijan, and yes, I would do that. Now, Nick says, do we trade Jacobs, Flowers, Goddard for Keenan Allen? I think it is going to be so dependent on your team that it's almost impossible to answer without seeing it. Now, Benur coming out says start 2 running backs, 1 flex. Waddle, JT, Hall, Collins, Myers. Start an RB2 and a flex, I'm assuming is what you're asking. We're going to go JT and Hall at running back and a flex. We'll slide Waddle in there for that flex spot if Tyreek misses. And then between JT and Breece Hall, I mean, these are running backs that I think are very close together in my rankings this week. I probably do end up going with Breece Hall because he has a good matchup. Now, Lance coming out. Great name, my friend says. Trade London, Palmer, and Warren for Breece Hall. Oh, hell yes. I would go get Breece Hall there. Makes a lot of sense. Brian says, rough situation. Win now. Love, Howell, or Darnold? We're definitely going to go Jordan Love, my friend. I mean, even if you have no Brock Purdy this week, there's no way in hell we can go out there and start Sam Darnold. We're not doing it. Now, Ahart coming out saying 10-team at BBR single flex. We have Goff, Stroud, Diggs, Adam Smith, JSN, HN, Bijan, Hall, Kamara, Walker, Andrews. Was offered Lamar and Flowers for Kamara and Adams. Should we take it? Give me Adams over Flowers. Kamara versus Lamar. Give me Lamar, especially in a happy BR format. We have Goff and Stroud. So I would say no, because if we go out there, unless you can line up another trade afterwards. If you can line up another trade here where you could go through and you could look to send away Jared Goff or CJ Stroud, then maybe. The issue is for now, I mean, if you go through and if you make this trade for Lamar, CJ Stroud and Jared Goff fall in the bucket where they're too good at cut. It's league to league depending on if you're actually going to be able to sell them for anything. So I don't know, my friend. I would have a hard time with that. Will says traded CMC for Pollard and more. Give me CMC. I think you made a bad deal. We have Hall, Fields, Jefferson on the IR. We need a wide receiver depth. When do you think JJ is back with the Vikings improving? I'm going to be anywhere from 2 to, I would say, about 4 weeks from here. Obviously, with the Vikings winning games, he is more incentivized to be pushed to come back early. Beast Mode says, do we trade JSN for Tajee with the Derrick Henry news? Gonna be up to you. I mean, I probably prefer Jackson Smith and Jigba over Tajee Spears. Is ultimately Tajee Spears for sure someone that we should roster, right? But even if Derrick Henry is traded, then at that point, where are you ranking him? At that point, are we ranking Tajee Spears like a low-end RB2, right? I'd assume that's where he falls. Okay. Now, Aaron says trade Etienne and Michael Wilson for Keenan and Jones. Give me Keenan and Jones because I think Keenan and Etienne are about the same. I'd probably rather have Etienne, but it's close. And then Jones versus Michael Wilson. Jones not close, even if we're taking on some risk. Now, Desmond says Allen, Olave, Pickens, Rice, Swift, Etienne, Schultz, Bourne, Aaron Jones, Michael Mayer, Jalen Warren, Stroud, Jefferson, Hurt. Any trade ideas? Currently 3-4, going on a 2-game win streak. Honestly, I don't think we do anything now. I mean, if you could sell CJ Stroud and another player like Michael Mayer and go get an upgraded tight end, then it's a no-brainer when we have Allen. It's kind of funny that you didn't ask this a few weeks ago, because if you would have asked me this, say, last week or the week before, I would have actually told you to go through and I would have told you to trade away Jefferson if you're like 1-4 and had Jefferson get injured. But hell, winning the past 2 weeks without him is great. Now, Cowboys says 8-team happy BR single flex, currently 1-6, starting Goff, Kupp, DK, JT, Hall, Hawkinson, and Pollard. And then on the bench, we have Myers, Brian Robinson, Debo Kyler, who to start this week, and any moves for the rest of the season. I would slide Nico Collins in over DK Metcalf. That'd be the primary change. It's either Nico or Jacoby Myers over DK, really at wide receiver 2. And then I would just say that if you're in an 8-team league, especially if there's only one flex spot with how high of a percentage they're going to count in your starting lineup, you are simply not going to be able to get away with going through and starting someone like Jared Goff. Like, you're going to have to go through, my friend. You're going to have to trade for a better quarterback. I'm sorry, but if we could send a better QB, send DK Metcalf and Jared Goff and get a better quarterback in here, I think that would make so much more sense. Now, HG Keep Grinding says Tank Dell or Josh Downs this weekend. We're going to go, oh my gosh, we're going to go Josh Downs. We're going to ride the hot hand, even though obviously Tank Dell did flash earlier on in the year. I mean, I think you can go either way. I'm going to ride the hot hand with Josh Downs. Full transparency, I drafted a lot of Josh Downs this year in underdog drafts. Tank Dell, not so much. Now, Britton says 12-team BBR traded Adams and Gus for Evans, Aaron Jones, Cooks. Was it worth it? Cooks, literally a non-factor. Adams to Evans is a downgrade. Gus to Aaron Jones is an upgrade. Really comes down to the health of Jones and what you can expect in the long term. I personally have no idea what to expect. Also got offered Derrick Henry for DJ Moore. I would probably go Derrick Henry, just hope that he gets traded. Now, Tatered Sandwich coming out saying full BBR, 2 receivers in a flex. We have Allen, CMC, Javonte, AJ Brown, Keenan. TJ Flowers. And then on the bench, we have Godwin, Davis, Deontay, Najee, Hubbard, Dell, Laporta. It was offered Gibbs, McLaurin for Laporta. Do we take it or do we package and aim for more? So whenever we have TJ Hawkinson and Sam Laporta, obviously Sam Laporta is going to be an expendable piece. And if we're 2-5, I would definitely say let's go ahead and let's sell him. Now, going out there and buying Jahmyr Gibbs, Gibbs will slide in our starting lineup over Javonte Williams. The thing is, Terry McLaurin will literally never make a difference here. Like, you're not going to be starting Terry McLaurin over Chris Godwin. He's just going to fall in that like Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin bucket, where in reality, you're not really getting anything for him in terms of value that you can use in your starting lineup. So I would say we're going to shoot for a little bit more. I definitely like the idea. It's just going to be difficult to go out there and say that this is a team that needs to be going and getting like Terry McLaurin, right? Now, Pepper says winning in pick'ems. I have not had to make a deposit on Underdog this year, which I'd classify that as winning, my friend. Share slips like flog bet and chin again, please. Transparency, build slips in, depth, strategy, correlation, and past week bets breakdown. So yeah, we did go through, and the video's coming out tomorrow. I am highlighting a pick'em slip that I'm actually making this week. And I'll just give y'all a heads up on that if y'all want to see it. If you are looking at this, ladies and gentlemen, so obviously everybody's going to have a special pick'em on Underdog this week. You're not going to have 3, but if you sign up with promo code FLOCK, it doesn't matter if that was 2 years ago, last year, yesterday, today, tomorrow, you will at minimum get the Amon-Ra St. Brown special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. So everybody here that use code FLOCK, it's a code FLOCK exclusive, should at least have one special pick'em this week on Underdog. And also, if you're new to Underdog, you're also going to get the Josh Allen special pick'em more than less than half a total yard for Thursday night on top of that. So I'm going to take one of the special pick'ems, call it a Josh Allen special pick'em. Then what I'm looking to do is it was the Green Bay Packers game that I was primarily looking at and going through and taking the fewer than 200 in, I believe it was 33.5 when we took it earlier today. I can pull up exactly. Hopefully this doesn't move down too much. We just recorded this video. I took a screenshot of it when we took it. So let me pull this up for y'all. Was it 231 or was it 233? No, it was 231. So yeah, 231. Jordan Love, fewer passing yards. 58.5 fewer receiving yards for Christian Watson. And going with Bijan to have more than 80 total yards. Put $10 down on it for $100 this week. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing this week. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems, promo code FLOCK, link in the live chat, link in the description, link in the comment section. Going to get you a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, plus those special pick'ems as well that you're only getting with promo code FLOCK. So please make sure you take advantage of that. And hopefully that's what you were looking for, my friend. Is an exact line that we are going out there and taking. But our next switch coming out from Tyler is saying, need to start to Breece, Mostert, Gibbs, Addison. We're going to be going with Breece and Mostert, assuming that Mostert is good to go. He missed practice today, but not worried about the 31-year-old missing practice on Wednesday. The man simply does not need to be out there, right? Like, especially if he's taking that workload, I'd rather him take the day off. I'd rather him get some rest for the weekend. And yeah, thank you so much for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel, my friend. I think Breece, must-start guy, great matchup against the Giants. And then with Raheem Mostert, I understand the defense was disappointing this past week. But at the same time, I mean, you have Vegas going out there. I think they have the highest implied team total of any team in the NFL this week. Now, Cogent says trade Ridley and Pitts for T. Higgins. I like the idea of buying low on Higgins. I do think that this is probably a little bit too high of a price tag, if I'm going to be honest with you, though. I think it's probably a little too high, my friend. Now, Keats coming out saying, 10 team, 1-6. We have Russ, Barkley, Bijan, Olave, Ridley, Laporta, Pacheco. And then on the bench, Connor, Kyler, Dell, Christian Watson, Down Spears. What are we going to do to get a receiver? The thing is, if you are 1-6, you cannot be thinking about long-term upside. Instead, you need to be thinking about points in this starting lineup right now. So I think you need to actually go out there and sell James Conner. to get any upgrade we can in the starting lineup. That way we don't fall to 1-7. And honestly, I may be looking to get that upgrade at QB instead, to be honest with you. Okay. Sorry, trying to pivot off that. Okay, perfect. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Admire My Moon Assaults has traded Ayuk, Brian Robinson for Lockett, Nico, and Montgomery. Is this a W? I would rather Montgomery over Brian Robinson. Nico, Lockett versus Ayuk is up to you. So, yes, I think that's definitely a W, my friend. Now, Dr. Jatavia is coming out saying 5-2 PBR, 10-team double flex. We have Lamar, Bijan, Swift, Hawkinson, Pacheco, A.J. Brown, Puka, Waddle, Nico, JSN, Javonte, Kincaid. Should we trade Bijan, Swift, Waddle for Jamar Chase? It's a double flex league. Depth's going to matter. Okay, no, so it's one of the running backs and the receiver. Okay, that makes a big difference. Honestly, if I could trade Swift and Waddle for Jamar Chase in a 10-team league, I would. I was about to say no, but I thought that we were trading all three of those guys, but no, never mind. Now, Buka coming out saying 5-2, single flex. Love, Kyler, Mostert, Hall, Jones, Kyron, Roshan, Olave, Lamb, Ayuk, Lockett, Hollywood, Kelsey, Kincaid. Quarterbacks are weak. What are your thoughts? I agree. I think quarterbacks are weak, but we have the long-term upside with Kyler, and it's a 5-2 roster, so we're kind of chilling. I think this is honestly a phenomenal team, and we don't need to make any moves right now. I think what would be interesting is if we have a blow-up spot from Dalton Kincaid Thursday night, which is 100% in the range of outcomes. If we wanted to go through and see if we could send like Dalton Kincaid and Isaiah Pacheco and go get a significant upgrade at running back, especially if we have a nice Pacheco game with him going up against Denver. Okay. Yeah, but it's a great team. You're 5-2. Obviously, if we could go out there, if we could make a play for Jefferson as well, we would. Like Kincaid and Puka, or Javonte and Puka, or Javonte and Waddle, and go get Jefferson. That'd be a no-brainer. Now, Cogent says 10-team PBR 4-3. We have Hurts, Bijan, Pollard, Keenan, Adams, Andrews, Olave, and then on the bench, Watson, Spears, Pitts, London, JSN. Traded Alexander Madison and the Jags defense for Olave. Great move. Who the hell's trading for the Jags defense at that price? Trade Ridley and Pitts for Higgins. That's just the trade that I'm not as much in love with. I mean, I understand why whenever we have Mark Andrews. I just would rather see if we can get... I would send out the offer for a few other players and see what kind of wide receivers that we could be getting. I just don't necessarily know if... Like, it's a decent price on Higgins. Like, everybody in a vacuum, please let me know. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have the combination of Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts or T. Higgins? Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts or T. Higgins? Let's see what people are saying. Please help out Coach in the chat. Always out here with us. Okay, it looks like everybody's actually going Higgins. Okay, maybe this is a reasonable price point. I definitely have more Higgins than Calvin Ridley this year, so I do like to see it. But yeah, let's go get T, my friend. Let's go get T. Sorry I misread the room with the value of what these guys were. Now we know. Jake says, PBR single flex. We're going to start Hill, Allen, Evans, Collins, Kirk. What? I'm assuming we're starting Hill and Allen for damn sure. Obviously, if Hill misses with a hip, then at that point would pivot. And yeah, Nico Collins and Mike Evans are neck and neck with us. So I think we just wait on Sunday, get the news with Hill, and then we don't need to start Evans on Thursday. And if Hill misses, then we go Collins. Okay. Now, Stevan says, hard time trading for a running back upgrade. Need help, 5-2. 12-team PBR. Starts Tua, Ramondre, Montgomery, Amon-Ra, Diggs, Waller, Kirk, and then on the bench, Najee, Roshan, Sutton, Higgins, Kyler, and London. I honestly don't necessarily know how much of a running back upgrade we really need here. Considering the fact, I mean, you are currently sitting with David Montgomery, who should be coming back soon, and it's a 5-2 roster. So I don't necessarily think you need to be going out there and panicking by any means, my friend. I think we have running backs down there on the bench with upside as well. If you could get a very reasonable price point, like sell Kyler and Najee and go get to a running back that you're excited about from week to week perspective, we'd probably look to go ahead and do that. Now, Given says Eckler, Devontae Bourne for Bijan and St. Brown. We're 4-3. I think Smith and Bourne to St. Brown is such a massive upgrade that it doesn't matter what you think of Eckler versus Bijan. Yes, let's go get Bijan and St. Brown. Nobody says pick 3, Collins, Evans, Myers, Kirk, Higgins. We're going to go with the first 3. I was a little bit worried until we read the last 2, because all 3 of these guys are ranked literally back to back for us. The Notorious One says, appreciate you. Should we play Addison or Lamb? Appreciate you, my friend. I do have Lamb ranked wide receiver 10, Addison ranked wide receiver 13 this week. Now, Lab says, pick 2, Gabe Davis, Hopkins, Judy, and Jalen Warren. I hate to say it, but probably Judy and Jalen Warren. You look at Gabe Davis, his underdog pick him's like 33 receiving yards this week. And if you're looking at DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks is going to be good to go, and Ryan Tannehill won't be. I'd rather see what we're going to get from Levis before we start Hopkins. David says 4-3 PBR. We have Tua, CMC, JT, Diggs, St. Brown, Jacobs, Andrews, and then on the bench, Love, Walker, Mitchell, Waddle, Lave, Ingram. Any moves or any trades? Thank you for all the hard work. No, thank you so much for being a member of the flock, my friend. This team is damn good if we have, Walker and Waddle down there on the bench. So what I would say is if we could take like Evan, this is a phenomenal team. If you could take like Evan Ingram and Tua and go just get a slight upgrade at quarterback, right? Like if you were able to maybe pivot over and go instead, get to someone like Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, I think that would make a ton of sense. But yeah, any chance that we could go out there and send one of those depth bench guys, and especially to get like a top 3 quarterback here, given how strong this roster is with our embarrassment of riches, we probably want to be making that move. Sleep Deprived always out says, week 8 flex, Nico, Foreman, Watson, or Rice, or Flowers. I'm going to go Nico Collins with Roshan being good to go. I don't think we're nearly as excited about starting Foreman this week as we were last week. Produced by 80 says, Kincaid or Evan Ingram at tight ends. I think with the Dawson Knox injury, these guys are relatively close. If you look at my rankings this week, I have Kincaid at 9 and Evan Ingram at 7. Now, Josh says 12-team Superflex 4-3, happy BR. Trade Olave, Love, Hunt for Lamar and Roshan. Hunt to Roshan, downgrade. Love and Olave to Lamar, massive upgrade, especially in a Superflex format. Other receivers are Puka, Zay, Deontay. And then or Swift, Deontay for ETN. I think both deals are somewhat appealing. If I had to pick between the two, I think we are going to go ahead. We're going to get the Lamar deal. Just makes so much sense for us to go out there and pay up for that elite level quarterback where we can. And I drafted a lot of Kareem Hunt this year. Like I really hope Kareem Hunt keeps on going out there and crushing it. But if we are going to be realistic with ourselves, Jerome Ford's still splitting this backfield. Kareem Hunt really hasn't been involved as a receiver either. And he's been very inefficient. He's really just been relying on touchdowns. But we are 2 likes away from hitting 500 likes on this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. If you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this stream. Help us hit 500. But Drew says 6-1 PBR ESPN League. We have Lawrence, Kyler, Saquon, Etienne, Warren, Singletary, Lamb, Keenan, Ayuk, Godwin, Nico, Kirk, Michael Thomas, Bourne. Traded Ayuk and Kirk and Lawrence for Jacobs and Stroud. So Lawrence to Stroud, up to you. Ayuk and Kirk for Jacobs, specifically when we have Lamb, Keenan, Godwin, Nico, also at wide receiver. I think we're completely fine with that move considering the wide receiver core we had. Now, Ghost Life says Purdy, Brian Robinson, for Burrow and Cook. Probably going to go Burrow and Cook, to be honest with you. with Burrow hopefully being closer to 100%. Now, Dean says 14-team PPR double flex. We have no running backs, Zeke and Dillon. Trade Lamb for Sutton and Gibbs. We have Chase, St. Brown, Hollywood, Bourne, and JSN at receiver still. Okay. 14-team league, depth's going to be harder to come by. Running back's going to be harder to come by as well. So I understand the thought process and wanting to go out there and make this move. However, honestly, my friend, I think that you are probably going to have to be in a spot where, yeah, at least just get a little more value. Yeah, you get a slightly better receiver than Courtland Sutton here. Now, Anto says 10-team, 10-4. 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a flex. We have JT, Pacheco, Adams, Cup, Watson, Kelsey, Gibbs. And then on the bench, we have Cook, HN, JSN, Kincaid. Sell Ian Cook and or Gibbs for a wide receiver 3 upgrade. In what range of receivers? I would say no. If you wanted to go out there and make a trade, it would be Gibbs rather than James Cook. I mean, from what I've seen in these live streams as of late, is there's not a single soul on this planet that wants to go out there and trade for James Cook. You're just not going to get anything if you try to trade him away. If you could get a compelling price point on Jahmyr Gibbs, on the other hand, like Jahmyr Gibbs and Dalton Kincaid on a team that has Kelsey to go get a stud receiver, like go get Devontae Adams, go get CeeDee Lamb, because we already have Adams. I think that would make a lot of sense. The thing with James Cook is, I mean, Damian Harris is down, so he's just going to have that larger workload. I'm not a big James Cook guy by any means, but nobody wants the guy. Now, Miguel says 4-3, 12-team PPR double flex, 4-point passing touchdown. We have Cousins, Eckler, Etienne, Jaleel, Spears, Waddle, Lamb, Ayuk, Deontay, JSN, Laporta, Taysom. Any moves? Trade for what type of players? I don't necessarily think that there are too many trades. I think this is a very well-constructed team. The only thing that I would say is let's go ahead and let's drop Taysom Hill. You'll find someone else that we like a little bit more appealing with running back upside off waivers. And then honestly, I think we would start drop Jaleel as well. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're looking at Jaleel, this is a running back that is the RB3 in a very bad offense. Like, even if Javonte gets injured, we've seen that he's going to split with P. Ryan, so we shouldn't be that excited. Like, we pick him up if Javonte gets injured again, but not with a healthy Javonte. Carlos says 12-team, 4-3, single flex. We have Hurts, CMC, Montgomery, A.J. Brown, Evans, Musgrave, Flowers, Amari, Hopkins, Henderson, Collins, Ford, Akers, McBride, fair trade for Bijan. The thing is that they're 1-6. They're not going to want to trade for Montgomery. I would sell Montgomery and like Amari, but in reality, we probably can't get that. Unless you wanted to go like, if we could send like Montgomery, Henderson, and like Nico Collins or something, Montgomery, Henderson, and Zay Flowers, and go get Bijan Robinson and tell them like you get the long-term upside of Montgomery and someone to start right now in Darrell Henderson. If we can try to spin it that way, that makes sense. Obviously, I mean, trading CMC is just a non-starter, though, so I don't see a trade that's very easy to make from there. But Gary says 10-team, single flex, 5-2. We have Fields, Gibbs, Cook, A.J. Brown, Pittman, Moore, Kelsey, Kirk, Thomas, Ford, Henderson, Kyron. Should we trade Gibbs and Pittman for Kupp and Madison? Hell yes. 10-team, single flex format, my friend. Just get me the best player. The best player here is going to be Cooper Kupp. I don't think it's too close either. Clutchbox is 7-0, 14-team PPR. We have Stafford, Bryce, CMC, Brees, HN, Jamar, Ridley, Godwin, Palmer, Logan Thomas. We have 4 slots to fill after getting CMC in a trade. Any moves, or am I chilling until the playoffs? I would say we are chilling. It's a phenomenal team. Obviously, it will get better as we have Devon Achane getting healthier. And yeah, the depth is going to be much harder to come by, which does put us in a little bit of a compromising position with this being that 14-team format. So we've been showing the wrong questions. I apologize. So I think that we are a little bit concerned, but since we are 7-0, we can go through and we can just focus in on that long-term upside, which we have a ton of right now. And instead, we can prioritize just backfilling depth from waivers. Now, Brandon says 10-team PBR 5-2. We have Lawrence, Kyler, Pollard, Cook, Brian Robinson, Tyreek, DJ, Amari, T, Palmer, Nico, Deontay, Sutton, Andrews. What moves should we be looking to make? Long-term, we're going to get Kyler Murray back in, so we'll get that upgrade there. I don't think you have to do anything. If you could find a reasonable price on Justin Jefferson by going through and selling, like, say, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Brian Robinson, send away just like 3 of those mid-tier guys for the player not playing right now, but getting the long-term upside at the same time, I think that'd make a lot of sense. Or the same thing, maybe sending like, say, DJ Moore and Brian Robinson and going getting like Devon Achane, right, on a 5-2 team. Now, Brock says 2 quarterback league trade. Give Herbert, Gibbs, and Smith. Actually, I'm sorry. We'll get back to this. I messed us up. We accidentally skipped over Pedro's question. Pedro says 10-team non-BBR start set. Burrow, Madison, White, Addison, McLaurin, Hawkinson, Hunt. Do not like this team. Jeff Wilson, Moss, Hubbard, Downs, Garrett Wilson, and Hollywood. Not a big fan of this team. I think we do go ahead and start Garrett Wilson over Terry McLaurin. But yeah, hopefully we get Burrow back and fully healthy soon. Now, going back to Brock, give Herbert, Gibbs, Smith for Stafford, Kamara, Jefferson. So Gibbs to Kamara upgrade, Smith to Jefferson upgrade. We're 4-2. The main thing is we're getting that pretty big downgrade going from Herbert to Stafford. This would be a no-brainer for me in a 1 quarterback league, and a super flex format will be a little bit tougher. I honestly think that we still probably go ahead and make this move. It's just much tougher since it is that super flex league. Now, Broadaman says, let me know how we did. We just traded Swift for Mike Evans and Smith in a full PBR league. Running backs are CMC, Moss, Roshan, Henderson, Javante. Wide receivers are Lamb, DK, Watson, and London. Okay. Honestly, I don't necessarily know how excited we are about this trade. I think I would rather try to swing a little bit more value out of Swift, just given how easy it is to find wide receiver production versus running back. Now, Jose says, full BBR 18-team league. We have Mayfield, Mixon, Pollard, Evans, Deontay, Kincaid, Thomas, and then on the bench, Wilson, Freeman, Harris, Boyd, Godwin, Judy. I'm 4-3. Any thoughts? 18-team league, depth's going to be incredibly difficult to come by. This may end up actually being Zach Wilson down there on the bench. Obviously, if we could upgrade quarterback, we would. I just don't necessarily know if we could afford it. Specifically in that 16-team league, team will be much better now that we have Kincaid as a viable option going forward and Deontay back from his injury. Now, Zachary says 10-team, happy BR single flex 4-3. We have Hurts, Stroud, Hall, Bijan, Henry, Gibbs, Smith, Evans, Myers, Waddle, Bourne, Kelsey, Kincaid. Do we need to upgrade like Pacheco? My man, you have Bijan and Hall. I'd rather have those guys over Pacheco. Maybe even Derrick Henry as well. I don't think you need to be going out there and trading for Pacheco. I think if you're making an upgrade, you're going to be going for a better wide receiver. And the expendable assets that we would have with this team would be Dalton Kincaid, since we have Travis Kelce. And CJ Stroud, since we have Jalen Hurts. So if you wanted to package together one of those players and a wide receiver to get a wide receiver upgrade, that's what we would be doing. Now, Sam says PBR start 1, Jones or James Cook. We're going to go James Cook. And then 2 for the flex, Addison, Olave, Nico Collins, or the loser of the 2 running backs. And who should we target for Addison and Olave? I would say nobody for right now. I want to be holding on to these guys. Honestly, you're not able to sell Olave, at least from what I've seen at the moment. And then I think we are going to be starting Addison and Nico Collins, but Olave will be very close there. Gnarls, always happy to see it, says 10 TBBR 4 and 3. We have Allen, Bijan, Swift, Devonta, Kirk, Kelsey, Stevenson. And then on the bench, Judy, JSN, Javonte, Dobbs, Gus, Ford, Jeff Wilson Jr. Want to trade for Etienne and Jefferson. Thoughts on who we should send or any other moves that we should make? Okay. So I really like this idea because how strong this team is. Now the issue is like, where do we find that value? Devonta Smith isn't necessarily someone that people are going to be trading for right now. So you're kind of stuck with him on your team. I think DeAndre Swift is a player that we could get a considerable amount of value for. If you wanted to send, say, DeAndre Swift and a depth piece like Javonte Williams to see if we could go get Travis Etienne, I think that'd make a lot of sense because Javonte, just in my mind, if he's our RB4 here, really expendable asset, horrendous offense. I don't know what the ceiling looks like. So if we could send, say, Javonte and Swift to get that running back upgrade, that'd make a lot of sense. And then going for Jefferson. I would send a package of any two of our wide receivers / running backs, not including Bijan Robinson. But in reality, I would just assume that that's going to get rejected. I think hopefully Smith has a big week this week against Washington, and then maybe we can get some value out of him. Okay. Now, Colin says 10-team BBR 3 and 4. We have Allen, Bijan, JT, Keenan, DK, Pitts, Waddle, Javonte, Pierce, Downs, Dell, and Joku. Trade DK, Dell, and Joku for Smith and Kincaid. DK versus Smith, up to you. And Joku versus Kincaid, it's going to be Kincaid, not close. Honestly, I'm going to go Smith and Kincaid. I know that Smith has been horrendous so far this year. But if you are looking at Metcalf hasn't been a top 24 wide receiver over the past 2 years from a per game perspective. And he's barely inside the top 24 right now. And I don't know how long that's going to last if JSN expands his role. But Evil Skittles, happy to see us. Says, hey man, always nice to see you streaming. I made a trade recently. I gave away Ayuk in return for Pacheco. Ayuk's consistency has been frustrating. I do like the move, especially as we're going to get Debo back in the long term. And now Purdy's dealing with a concussion. Isaiah at least looks more of a prominent piece to KC. Good or bad move? I think it's a good move. I'm not in love with Isaiah Pacheco by any means. Now, I did draft a ton of him in underdog drafts this year. I was panicking at the beginning of the season when we had the Clyde Edwards-Helaire usage. Really happy to see that he is 100%. I mean, that guy now. But realistically, I wouldn't fault you if Pacheco blew up this week in a very good matchup against the Denver Broncos to go through and look to see what we could get for Isaiah Pacheco. But ultimately, you're in a really good spot. I think you are. Now, Titan Tease coming out saying 10-team non-PBR, where we have Lamar, Barkley, Jacobs, Pierce, Darrell Williams, Lamb, Evans, Metcalf, Higgins, Wilson, Downs, Darren Waller. Any moves? I think that in a non-PBR format especially, we're going to be looking to sell these guys that are in bad offenses. So if we could go through, if we could take, say, Josh Downs and Darren Waller, more so we can get out of Darren Waller, and go send him for a true top-tier tight end, go get someone like Hawkinson, I think that'd make a lot of sense. And maybe there is that chance that we could actually get that move done, considering the week that Waller just had in a great matchup against Washington. Now, Mr. Lamajam says, have BBR double flex. We have Diggs, Ridley, Ayuk, Deontay, Hall, Swift, Edwards, Deonta Foreman, and Zeke. Which running backs and receivers are we going to start? Receivers are going to be going with Diggs and Ayuk. Running back, we are to be going Hall and Swift. And for the flex, between Deontay Johnson, Calvin Ridley, Gus Edwards, Deonta Foreman, honestly, it's a double flex format. It's going to be a really tough spot. Assuming Roshan plays, I probably go Ridley and Deontay Johnson. If Roshan misses, we probably go Deontay Johnson and Deonta Foreman. Now, use Napkin coming out saying 12-team, Happy BR 5 and 2. We have Allen, CMC, Walker, Kupp, Olave, Sam Laporta, JT, Flowers, and then on the bench, Achan, Rice, JT, and Flowers. Sorry, Achan and Rice. Should we trade JT and Flowers for Brown and Ridley? Give me Flowers over Ridley. Give me AJ Brown over Jonathan Taylor. I think we probably will take the best player in the deal, so we probably will go with A.J. Brown here, especially if we have the stud running backs like CMC and Kenneth Walker at the top. Now, Gustavo says trade Pittman for Godwin and Chuba. Chuba has no value. Miles Sanders fully practiced today. I'd rather have Pittman over Godwin. Now, Matthew is our next question, but it's going to take us 1 second to pull this up. Let me refresh this. And as I do, if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. I mean, we have live streamed every single day since April. Not going to miss a day until 2024. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And the usual special pick'em they're going to give people that are new to Underdog. That's going to be the Josh Allen, more than less than half a total yard. But on top of this one, we have an additional Flock exclusive special pick'em since so many people signed up with code FLOCK last week. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, more than less than half a total yard for Monday night as well. So please make sure to take advantage if you can. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Matthew says, 4-3, 12-team PPR, starting Burrow, Etienne, Pacheco, Adams, Thielen, Kittle, Addison. And then on the bench, we have Hopkins, Purdy, Dell, Spears, Williams, Samuel. We need some help. Okay. We have no depth. I mean, Hopkins was a sell-high guy for us a few weeks back. You're not going to get any value for him now. I mean, you have the Tannehill injury and Treylon Burks is back. I mean, it's over for DeAndre Hopkins. Javonte was that sell-high guy for us 2 weeks back. You're not going to really get anything. Honestly, I think you're just kind of chilling here on your hands. I mean, if you could find a very reasonable price point to pivot off of Kittle for Hawkinson or Andrews, I think we would just before Deebo Samuel comes back in. But it's not like we have a lot of firepower down there on the bench to make a move. David says, Saquon or Walker rest of season. We need to trade one. I'd rather have Walker, especially as he's already through his bye. Okay. But Matt says, offer is Walker Olave for Hopkins, Lamb, Mostert. Give me Walker over Lamb, Mostert and Hopkins versus Olave. Give me Mostert and Hopkins. I think it's a very fair deal. It's up to you. Can everybody spam the chat? What direction are you going to go in? Would you rather have Kenneth Walker and Chris Olave or DeAndre Hopkins, CeeDee Lamb, and Raheem Mostert? Please let me know in the live chat. Where are you going? Dustin says, 12-team PPR traded away Swift for Josh Jacobs. What are your thoughts? I have Swift higher than Jacobs in my rest of season rankings. I understand why you would do it, though. Okay. See, Mostert, Lamb, Olave. So it does look like most people are going to go, I don't know. It looks like it's pretty close. Looks like it's close there. Now, Sam says, someone has Bijan and CMC, but no receiver depth. He said he would trade me Bijan for depth. We have Chase, Allen, Olave, Addison, Collins, Pollard, James Cook, Aaron Jones, Rashee Rice. He only has A.J. Brown, Flowers. What's the offer for Bijan? I think it probably needs to be centered around Jordan Addison. You're going to have to give him someone that he's excited about. So if you wanted to go ahead, if you wanted to send, say, Jordan Addison and a smaller running back like James Cook for Bijan, I think that would make a lot of sense. Especially if these are like the actual worst guys on our team, because then, I mean, it would be very hard for us to go through and make any moves off the waiver wire if these are like the worst options we have. Give more, always happy to see you. And my man, you know, if you have any questions, just shoot me a text. But my guy, I got Bijan, 4-3, Hurts, CMC, Bijan, Etienne, Barkley, phenomenal team. CMC, Bijan, Etienne, Barkley. Waddle, Puka, Watson, Collins, trade Barkley for Adams or any moves. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. 100% understand wanting to go out there and trade a bell cow back here when we have 4 of them, if it means we're going to get an elite receiver. But we are just coming from the position of power here. And I honestly think that you are giving a sweetheart deal to whoever we are sending that running back. Well, for us, that running back production's not hard to come by. Still in the overall league, it's going to be. I would imagine that you're probably like the only other owner that is willing to go through and trade that bell cow back. So I like the idea. I just think that we need to be looking for a better receiver than Devontae Adams if we're trading like Saquon Barkley. Trying to think of what we could possibly go out there and do. I mean, maybe if someone's panicking about Tyreek Hill with the hip, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, like if we can go do that, let's do it. Okay. Now, Infusion says 4-3, 10-team PBR, double flex. We have Mahomes, Jacobs, Mixon, Chase, Addison, Collins, Evans, Kittle. And then on the bench, we have Jones, Dillon, Sutton, Deontay, Singletary, Hubbard. I need a stud to elevate the team. Any trade ideas? Thanks, Mason. Thank you, my man. Double flex league, I will say depth's going to matter a little bit more. And the thing is, if we just walk through this, how do we get a stud to elevate the team? We have to go through and we have to sell a player down there on the bench that has a considerable amount of value that we could go through and package with someone in the starting lineup to get said stud. So my initial thing is we go down to the bench. Our bench consists of Aaron Jones. Is anybody trading for Aaron Jones right now? No, nobody is. AJ Dillon, nobody's trading for AJ Dillon. Courtland Sutton, nobody's trading for Courtland Sutton. Deontay Johnson, nobody's trading for Deontay Johnson. Devin Singletary, nobody's trading for Devin Singletary. Chuba Hubbard, nobody's trading for Chuba Hubbard. So I hate to say this, my friend. I know this is probably the last thing that you want to hear, but I don't necessarily know if we can afford to go out there and make that move. I think what we're probably going to have to do is wait until we eventually get Aaron Jones back in here. Once we get Aaron Jones at 100% and actually producing and he's a viable running back and the depth on this team looks a lot better, then at that point we can probably go out there and afford to make a trade. But honestly, I don't know if this team has enough value right now to go get a stud. Like obviously we always want to trade for a stud where we can. I just don't see one that makes a lot of sense here. Like that, I could always tell you, oh yeah, let's go through, let's sell Courtland Sutton and Joe Mixon and let's go get Christian McCaffrey. It's not happening, you know? Now, Chris says, have BBR 2 running back, 2 receivers, single flex. Bijan Pollard, JT Evans, Puka, Addison, Higgins. Who do we start? Thanks, Mason. Thank you, my friend. We're going to go Bijan Pollard, running back, not thinking about it. We're going to go Puka, Addison at receiver. And then for that flex spot, we are going to go Jonathan Taylor as well. I'm excited about T. Higgins. Long term, this week against the 49ers will be tough. Now, Michael says, AJ Brown or Jamar Chase rest of season. I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. He's already through his bye week. Hopefully, Joe Burrow is a little bit healthier now. We have Burrow and Higgins already. Then, yeah, we're going to go through. I guess we're making that one concentrated bet that Burrow manages to get healthy and he is good to go. Now, John says 10-team PBR single flex. We have Tyreek, Amon-Ra, Allen, JT, Achane, Pierce, Andrews, McLaurin, Downs, Algier, Judy, Herbert, 4-3 currently. How's the team? So we're elite at receiver. We have an elite quarterback. Long-term, we're solid at running back. We have the elite tight end. Phenomenal roster top to bottom. The only thing that we're looking to do is obviously just work the waiver wire. Go pick up guys like Darrell Henderson for the time being until we get Devon Achane back in the long term. Now, Daniel says, need a wide receiver 2 and a flex between Nico, Ayuk, Downs, Thielen, and Foreman. I think we're going to go with Thielen and Ayuk. If Debo plays, then we could possibly pivot to Thielen and Nico. Now, I'm just there. Says, who should we start? Bryce, Geno, or Darnold? Really tough spot with Geno going up against Cleveland. I probably take Geno if he has Metcalf, if he has Lockett, if he has JSN, all good to go. Really tough matchup, though. Pooch says trade Diggs for Eckler and Olave in a full PPR format. Yes, if it is a league where you need the depth, I'm completely fine making that move. Tyler says traded Debo, Pierce, and Lockett for Pollard. Great trade. Great trade. Shot says, Hunt didn't practice. Should we be concerned? No, it's already reported he will play week 8. These guys that were drafted back in 2017, does Kareem Hunt need to be at practice? No, he doesn't. In reality, they just need to make sure that he is healthy and good to go. Now, Tyler says 3 and 4, 12-team PPR. Godwin or Rice for Jefferson. Jefferson by approximately 10 million miles. Daniel says, would he trade DK for Devonta Smith? I think that they are in the same tier. They're up to you. I will say the majority of people would go through and take DK Metcalf, though. The majority of people would. Jason says 12-team PPRs are 2 running backs and a flex. We have Hunt, White, Pierce, Jones, Wilson, Ayuk, Jameson. Also, Odell, Brandon Cooks, Michael Wilson, Mingo, Hyde are free agents. Any interest? Probably not, because what would have to happen for these guys to eventually be startable for us? Like, legitimately, when would you feel comfortable starting these guys? I don't know if I ever would. Running back, we're going to be going with White and Aaron Jones if he is good to go. Obviously, it's going to depend on what we get over practice reports. I mean, if he's practicing in full, then we'll do it. If he's limited in a game time decision, I'm not dealing with that nonsense, and we play Kareem Hunt. And then for the flex spot, we're going to go Brandon Ayuk regardless. Now, Grant says trade Bijan and Waddle for Jamar and Aaron Jones in a PPR league. I think you probably go Jamar and Aaron Jones, because if I'm having to think about it and I think it's fair and I am the most biased person ever when it comes to Bijan Robinson, it's probably the other side, not Bijan, right? Now, Cora says 10-team PPR, 2 receivers and a flex. We have Hurts, Walker, Gibbs, Tyreek, AJ Brown, Andrews, Rice, Sanders, Dell, Palmer, Spears, Samuel, Bourne, Amari. Who should we trade for Higgins? I may have to slightly overpay. Amari DeMarcado is a running back that has value right now. Long-term, obviously not much. So if we're not starting him currently, then let's go out there and let's see if we can sell him. If we could sell one of these depth running backs like DeMarcado or Miles Sanders with Joshua Palmer, a wide receiver that's producing right now, I think that would be an interesting move that we could potentially go through and make. Especially if you're 6-1. Side note as well, I think I would honestly be interested to see if we could just put out a feeler and see if we can get Jefferson at a reasonable price. Now, Metro Boomin coming out saying 10-team full BBR 5-2. Start Lawrence, Hall, Pierce, AJ Brown, Puka, Addison, Kelsey, Murray, DK, Lockett, Higgins, DeMarcado, Henderson, Spears. Can't seem to get a trade for a solid RB2. Any suggestions? So we have the elite tight end. We have Kyler for the long term. We have a ton of receivers here. I mean, you already know what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to sell DK and Pierce, DK and Henderson, DK and DeMarcado, and go get an upgrade at running back. I would say maybe if that didn't work out, then sell the wide receiver depth for quarterback upside over Lawrence. But the issue is, I don't necessarily think we need to make that move here whenever we have Kyler waiting in the wings, right? Because Kyler may come in and Kyler may fix the situation right up. Now, Evil Skittles out against us, 10-team PPR. We have Mahomes, Walker, Pacheco, Higgins, Amari, Flowers the flex, and Laporta. My bench has Ford, Kyron injured, Foreman, Rasheed, Palmer, Sutton. Any thoughts? It's a very strong team. Obviously, wide receivers a little bit questionable for the moment. I would say that if we could go out there and possibly sell, say, Kyron and Flowers and go get a stud wide receiver, I think that would make a lot of sense, especially when we're dealing with the Ford injury. I don't necessarily know how many players down here at the very bottom we want to go through and we want to be holding on to for long-term upside. So yeah, if we could, we're going to be holding on to Higgins. If you're selling him at an all-time low. And if you were to go through and if you were to look to sell Amari, it's almost the same thing, right? It's almost the same thing here, my friend. Now, Grizzly says, Keenan Allen for Kamara, right in line with Evil Skittles' other questions. Should I trade away my life in return for Kamara? Honestly, no. I would go Keenan Allen over Kamara. I mean, Kamara's just been so inefficient. And at the same time, I mean, this is a running back that you are having to deal with him being vultured at the goal line for rushing touchdowns. Now, Anthony says 10 team, 5-2, single flex. We have Hurts, Hall, Foreman, Brian Robinson, Ford, Lamb, Thielen, Pittman, Downs, Pickens, Ridley was offered Tua, Puka for Pitts and Jalen Hurts. Pitt's really not going to do anything for us. We have Laporta. We are offered Tua and Puka for Jalen Hurts. Since it is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I typically opt to just go ahead and take the stud quarterback. Like, we are starting Lamb, Thielen, Pittman at receiver. We don't really need any help at wide receiver, right? If this was a multi-flex league, if this was a 12-team, if this was a 14-team format, I think I make the argument to go out there and get the Puka side. However, in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I think maybe we're a little bit more excited to just go ahead and instead roll with Jalen Hurts. Now, Daniel says start 2, Puka, Moore, or Nico. I'm going to go with Puka and, honestly, DJ Moore, Nico, very close for us. I'm probably going to go DJ Moore. Now, Admire My Moonassault says Ayuk, Brian Robinson for Nico, Lockett, and Montgomery. Going from Ayuk to Nico, slight downgrade. Brian Robinson to Montgomery, massive W. So yes, 100% that is a W, my friend. Now, Dim says 10-team PBR 2-5. We have Lamar, Bijan, Jacobs, Cup, Puka, Waddle, Andrews, Deontay, Spears, Curtis, Devonta Smith, Hunt, Achane. Trade Andrews, Waddle, Curtis, Hunt for Amon-Ra St. Brown, Swift, and Evan Ingram. Waddle to Amon-Ra St. Brown, massive upgrade. Andrews to Swifts, up to your team. The other guys don't really matter. So yes, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to get Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift here. I think we would. Now, Michael says 12-team PBR 3-4. We have Lawrence, Eckler, Stevenson, Lamb, Smith, McBride, Downs, Rice, JSN, Judy, Chuba, Foreman. Would you pay up for an elite level quarterback or anything else to stay? The thing is, what can we sell? If you could sell Downs and or Rice with Trevor Lawrence to get a top 4 quarterback, to get Lamar, to get Allen, to get Hurts, to get Mahomes, I would 100% send those offers out. Am I expecting those to get accepted? Probably not. I would go through and I would offer every single one of those teams 3 different deals. Lawrence with JSN, Lawrence with Judy, Lawrence with JSN, Lawrence with Rice, Lawrence with Downs. You can do the Lawrence with Judy. I just think they have no interest in Judy. And see if we could go out there and see if we could get that upgraded quarterback. Just in reality, I would assume that you're probably not going to be able to get it done. In reality, I would assume it's much easier said than done, right? Now, Get Flock says 12-team league. We're 4-3 with Mahomes, Kelsey, Bijan, JT, Lamb, Waddle. We need a week 8 flex from Ridley, Rice, London, Johnson, Downs, Hunt. Happy BR, you the man. Appreciate you, my friend. I hate to say it. Actually, no, never mind. We're going to go Kareem Hunt. I'm not like in love with Kareem Hunt. I don't think Kareem Hunt's like a low-end RB1, high-end RB2 this week by any means. He is going to split with Jerome Ford. But he's still going to be someone that you can be excited about just getting a guaranteed baseline level of touches behind an elite offense. The issue is he's inefficient and he's splitting with Ford, but he does have that workload. Now, Ryan says, Hogamorns, my man, 4-3, 10-team at BBR single flex. We have Hall, Kamara, Montgomery, Cook, Foreman, Lamb, Flowers, London, Mahomes, and Kelsey. Any ideas on how to upgrade a receiver and any other ideas? So we have Mahomes, Kelsey. We're in a beautiful spot where we can focus running back, wide receiver upside down there on the bench. If you could send, say, like Foreman and Flowers or Foreman and London and go get that upgrade, I think it'd make a lot of sense. In that with Foreman, obviously, it was great this past week, but ultimately at the end of the day, if we are projecting this out long term, it's going to be very difficult to be excited about Foreman. And that once you get Roshan in, once you get Khalil Herbert in, it is going to be a tough spot to see Foreman getting that 3-down workload. Now, C says 2, 4, and 1. Yes, I tied. Oh, very rarely are we seeing ties, my friend. 12-team full BBR in 10th. Thought about me trading Jefferson, Jacobs, and Pickens for Olave, Kirk, Walker. Jacobs to Walker, slight upgrade. Pickens to Kirk, up to you. Jefferson to Olave, massive downgrade. I completely understand. If we're 2 and 4 and we need to go out there and we need points in this lineup right now, maybe you are in a position where you need to go out there and sell Jefferson. But if you are doing so, you need a much higher return, right? We need something better, especially if this is a spot where you have the Vikings winning games, where possibly you're actually going to get Jefferson, say, going out there and taking a larger role. I'm sorry, not taking a larger, I'm an idiot. But coming back quicker from this injury. Now, Jaden says start Jacobs or Addison in a PPR format. I'm probably going to go Addison, to be honest with you. I feel like maybe we're getting suckered. Does Underdog have a Jacobs pick him up yet? Probably not. Yeah, no, they don't. Let me see if they have one up, and we just didn't see one at the time. I mean, I'm just going to have a hard time going out there and like being super confident regarding Josh Jacobs. Yeah, he's not up. Can everybody spam the chat? Are you going to go Josh Jacobs or Jordan Addison in a full PPR format? Josh Jacobs or Jordan Addison in a full PPR format. Please let me know. Please let me know. Okay. Looks like the majority of people are agreeing to go ahead and take Jordan Addison here. We got 1 or 2 votes for Josh Jacobs. I feel like maybe you can make an argument. Like, let's see what Jacobs does this week, right? I would rather have Jacobs rather than Addison rest of season. But let's see what the workload looks like. JJ says, thoughts on Henry to the Ravens? I think it would make a lot of sense for both teams if the money would work. And with the flex, start Downs, Moss, Spears, Watson, JSN. I listed them in that order. Thank you. No, thank you, my friend. Underdog has Watson significantly ahead of every other player here. They have Watson near the very top. I personally have Watson ranked at 36, Downs ranked at 31. I'd probably go Downs assuming Metcalf plays. If Metcalf misses, then we pivot to JSN. Now, Duran coming out saying 5-2, 12-team PBR, single flex. We have Hurts, St. Brown, Pittman, Myers, Addison, Bourne, CMC, Kamara, Algier, Akers, Henderson, Kittle, Kincaid. Addison and Kittle for Jefferson. I think this makes a ton of sense now that we have Kincaid as a viable option long-term. We're 5-2, so we are thinking about long-term upside. I would love to make this move, my friend. Now, we are going to have to refresh this so we can keep bringing these up. And give me 1 second to do this. Big Pew will be our next question. Just give me 1 second. And as I do this, if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. It looks like less than 10% of y'all have hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, The usual Josh Allen special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. That's going to be for Thursday. But since so many people used promo code FLOCK on Underdog last week, they're also hooking y'all up with an Amon-Ra St. Brown special pick'em on top of it for Monday, only with code FLOCK. So make sure you take advantage. Let's actually move this around a bit so we can just get more of the question in here. Okay, so would you send Cup, White, and Deontay for Etienne and Kyren? So Cup to Etienne, downgrade. White and Deontay to Kyren, probably not. I have more Travis Etienne than any other player in this trade. Like, if I was going to be biased in one direction, I'd be biased in favor of Etienne. But I don't necessarily know how we feel about that price point. Now, Ryan says 2 and 5. Loss number 4. 10-team BBR. Love, Bijan Pollard, Pittman Puka, Hawkinson, and then Swift in the flex. The bench, we have Smith, Higgins, Brian Robinson, Burrows, Charbonnet. We need some help. I think we just need some players healthy, my man. I mean, it looks like we've been decimated with the injuries when we went out there and we had the Cincinnati Bengals stack with Burrow and with T. Higgins. I think that this will be a team that's going to be much better going forward. We just need Burrow fully healthy. And if that happens, I think that we are going to be in a good spot. So honestly, I think we just need to be a little bit patient, see what they do out of the bye. Now, Ed coming out saying 12-team standard double flex. 5 and 2. We have Dak, Bijan, Saquon, Pierce, Adams, Puka, Ayuk. And then on the bench, we have Spears, Roshan, JSN, Amari, Kyren. What moves should we trade Burrow for Amari? You mean vice versa? Yeah, if you wanted to send Amari for Burrow, I'm not going to fault you at all for that. I think also if we could sell like Puka for Jefferson on this 5 and 2 team, I think that would make a lot of sense. Typically, I'm not in love going through and selling Amari at this point, though. You're selling him at an all-time low with the Watson injury, especially on a 5 and 2 team. Jamie says traded Pollard, Cook, Rice for Andrews and Hollywood. What are your thoughts? Rice to Hollywood, slide upgrade. Pollard and Cook to Mark Andrews, downgrade. I know you were loaded up at running back. If this was a Kelsey trade, I'd have been in for it, but Andrews, no. Jay Johnson says 7-0, any moves. We have Hurts, Hall, Kamara, St. Brown, Tyreek, Myers, Waller, Achane, Ford, Roshan, Deontay, Flowers, Jeff Wilson Jr., and Kyler. So we're already set up in a really nice spot, right? We're 7-0. We're thinking about long-term upside. We have guys like we have guys like Ford injured, Devon Achane injured, Kyler Murray injured. These players that will expand their role as the season goes on, which is what we are wanting here. Now, if you could, say, sell like Zay Flowers and Darren Waller and go get a stud tight end, go get Andrews, go get Hawkinson, I think that'd make a lot of sense. And obviously, if we could somehow afford a deal for Jefferson, I don't know what that would look like. But like, if we could send like Myers, Kyler, and Flowers and go get Jefferson, then we would. I'm just assuming that's a reject. Now, Ricky says, Field, Swift, Kirk, Waddle, Laporta, Addison, Javonte, Sanders, Foreman. We're 4-3, surviving with the Jefferson injury. Trying to make a trade for a top running back. Any advice? 180 days? Yes. 180 days in a row of live streaming. That does sound pretty nuts, like, to be honest. Everybody in the chat, obviously, I mean, we've gone years without missing a day of uploading a video across our 2 channels, but have y'all ever... I know y'all probably follow streamers and stuff more than I do. Have y'all ever heard of another streamer that live streamed 180 days in a row before? And if so, please let me know in the live chat. Someone else that live streamed another, obviously nobody's done it fantasy. I'm like the only person by far and away fantasy. But if I'm talking about like a video game streamer or something, has anybody done it? Mason says, wait, you have another yeah, if y'all don't know, I mean, the Dynasty football flock is where I go through and upload videos all off season, my friend. Charles says, between you and Kai Sinet. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I know who he is, but how many days in a row has he gone? Quack Dinger says, someone's gone 4 years, no missed days. Who the hell is this psycho? I'm pulling this person up. Let me just search him on Twitter. See what this is. Rocks and Terax. I don't know if you're trolling. I searched his name on Twitter, and that literally is nothing like that has ever popped up. I don't know. But still. Okay. Now let's move this over. Coming out here and try to blow smoke up my butt as usual. If we're trading for a stud RB, I mean, Foreman's going to be the guy I initially go through and look to sell, obviously. I mean, the issue is it's very difficult to make 2-for-1 deals whenever we're sitting in a spot where we have no Jefferson and we have no Fields, right? So if we have no Fields, if we have no Jefferson, it will be difficult for us to go through and make that 2-for-1 deal for right now. But yeah, Foreman would be the guy that we're looking to move on from. Now, Angel says I'm 2-5, Pollard Smith or Swift Evans rest of season. I'm going to go Pollard, especially on a 2-5 team where we need to be focusing in on production right now. And that with Tony Pollard, this is a running back that's already through his bye. We're going to get the extra week. Joe says 12-team PPR standard league. We have Lamar, Bijan, Moss, Connor, Singletary, Henderson, Tajee Pierce, Strong, Jeff Wilson, Puka, Diggs, Flowers, Judy, Johnston, Michael Mayer / streaming options. We're 4-3 now. What moves can we look to make? I think we can cut Quentin Johnston at this point. We really need a better running back too, but we're kind of just stuck waiting until we get James Conner back in. So honestly, I think we're just going to be churning the bottom end of this bench and going after guys like Darrell Henderson, like you're already doing, to get those short-term bye-week fill-ins. I thought Quentin Johnston was a great pickup earlier with the Mike Williams injury. Clearly, I was wrong. The guy just, despite checking out a lot of boxes, is not getting it done. Yeah, so I'm trying to think just because it's tough because like you don't have a lot of depth that we can sell there. You don't have a lot of like disposable value. Now, Eduardo says 10-team PPR 2-5. We have Love, Murray, Chase, Amon-Ra, Palmer, JSN, Watson, Ayuk, Pacheco, Jones, Ford, Hunt, Spears, Singletary, Laporta, Kincaid. Any moves we can make just traded for Amon-Ra, Laporta. Who do we start? I honestly don't like trading for Laporta when you had Kincaid, my man. I think Kincaid's going to be great going forward. I would love to see if we could send Kyler and Love and just go get a quarterback that we can start right now. I think that'd make a lot of sense on a 2-5 team. I would love to sell JSN and Watson and go get a wide receiver we can start right now on a 2-5 team, not thinking about this long-term upside. And now that you made a trade for Laporta, we're probably going to be looking to send away Kincaid. And if we're submitting a starting lineup, we're going to start Chase and Monra wide receiver. We're going to go Jordan Love at quarterback. Running back, we're going to be going with Pacheco and Hunt, maybe. It's going to depend on the Jones and Hunt injury updates. For the flex, we're going to go Ayuk. And then for that tight end slot, we're going to go Laporta. Now, D. Ezekiel says, hey, Mason, 8-team, 3 wide receiver double flex. We have Hurts, Saquon Pollard, A.J. Brown, Chase, Puka, Swift, Smith, Hawkinson. Got offered Hawkinson for Puka. Should we accept? It's a league where we can start 5 wide receivers, obviously 8-team formats. So if it was like say a 10-team league, this would be equivalent to more so like a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex league. We're starting A.J. Brown, Chase, Puka, Swift. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is JT. Specifically in a league where you can start 5 wide receivers, I just keep the receiver, to be honest. If it was 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, hell yes, give me Jonathan Taylor. 3 wide receivers, 2 flex, full PPR. I'd like to build around receiver. Now, Brooklyn Reptile says 4-3, 12-team, full PPR. Traded Puka, Godwin, Ramondre, Warren for Chase, Ridley, Stroud. Rest of the team is Eckler, JT, Waddle, Kelsey, Pickens, Dell, Fields, Javonte. Puka to Chase, massive upgrade. Godwin to Ridley, slight downgrade. Ramondre to Stroud, downgrade. Yeah, but going and getting Jamar Chase, getting the best player in the deal, I do think makes a lot of sense. Now, a Hogan coming out saying 12-team PPR. We have Lawrence, Kamara, Etienne, Lamb, Thomas, Hollywood, Pitts, Pacheco, Jones, Eckler, Kyler, Lockett, Curtis Samuel, McCole Hardman. Any improvements? Waiver wire, we have Chark, Powell, Gallup, and Burks. I would cut McCole Hardman for Treylon Burks just if we're chasing upside. Like, the thing with Hardman is he did nothing in 2019. He did nothing in 2020. He did nothing in 2021. Nothing in 2022. And in 2023, his team saw him and went, nah, we're good. We'll give you up. You know, like, I don't see why we'd ever roster McCole Hardman at this point, just a regular redraft league. So cut Hardman, go pick up Treylon Burks. And then outside of that, I think you are in a very good spot where I don't necessarily think that we need to be making too many plays. David says, me again, my 6-1 league, 12-team full BBR, Jefferson on the IR. We have Cousins, JT, Walker, Pittman, Collins, Foreman, Andrews, Burrow, Bourne, Jay Williams, Osborne, Watson, Everett. Any moves? If you could sell like Cousins, Andy onto Foreman and go get a stud player for the flex or running back long term, I think that'd make a lot of sense. Especially as we have Burrow already through his bye. And I think here we are focusing on long term, but you do have Jefferson coming back in. So you're in a phenomenal spot, right? Cousins has been so much better than Burrow so far this season. You could wait a week if you wanted to do it just to get through Burrow's tough matchup against the 49ers and make sure that Burrow does look like he is fully good to go. Now, Justin says 8-team PPR, where we have Mahomes, Lamb, Smith, Etienne, JT, Kelsey, Pacheco, Gibbs, Pittman, Olave, Michael Thomas, Higgins, Kincaid. Sit and wait or go make a splash. We are 5-2. You are in the literal perfect spot. It's an 8-team league. We built around Mahomes and Kelsey. We're always going to be able to find wide receivers. We're always going to be able to find running backs in an 8-team format. Really do like where we stand. I would say probably the only thing that we're looking to do is go through and see if we can sell maybe Kincaid with a player like Smith for an upgrade in the starting lineup. Eric says, I have CMC. Should I drop Mason or Mitchell? I think you should drop both. CMC plays 100% of the snaps, and even if CMC were to go down, we don't know who it's going to be, you know? So if it was a clear backup situation where we knew for sure it was Elijah Mitchell, then I think we could roster him. But when you're just guessing, we maybe have a handcuff. In reality, we don't know. So I drop both. If I had to make a guess on one of these guys, I'd probably go ahead and take Mitchell rest of season over Mason. Now, Jack says 3-4, 12-team PBR. Start 3 receivers. Fields, JT, Swift, Jacobs, Wilson, Debo, Samuel, Wandale, Kincaid, and how can we improve? I guess a team that kind of needs wide receiver, but the issue is what can we sell? We don't have Fields. Fields is injured. I think that the only way that you can improve with this roster right now, looking at the value that we have, is probably to go through and just work waivers, to be honest with you. I don't necessarily know if you have another option here, my friend. Now, Soul says 3 receivers, 2 running backs, single flex, PPR. I'm 2-5 starting Goff, Kupp, Thielen, Godwin, Pollard, Swift, Palmer in the flex, and then on the bench, Hunt, Ingram, Davis, Stafford, Sutton, Rice. Who to put in the flex? Also, Reynolds, Watson available through waivers. Should we pick up one? I would definitely go get Christian Watson off the waiver wire. I mean, I'd be willing to drop a couple of these guys. I think the easiest cut from this team would probably be... no, there's not an easy cut. I think Sutton. I would drop Sutton for Christian Watson. And then as of right now, we have Palmer in the flex. In a full PPR format, I don't think it's the worst thing to do, but this is just such a good team. I think that we probably look to go ahead and instead maybe swing Hunt into the flex spot. assuming he's good to go, which right now they're saying that he will be, even if he's not practicing. I will say outside of, I don't know if we have to start a tight end here or not. It looks like we don't have a starting tight end in our lineup. If you don't have to start a tight end, then Evan Ingram's just a cut. Even though Evan Ingram's a great tight end, but you'd rather have like Christian Watson total points rest of season over Evan Ingram. But you make an argument Evan Ingram's more valuable in fantasy, of course, if you have to start a tight end just because opportunity cost. Value over replacement. Now, Jacob says, double flex, who to start a quarterback? Love Burrow. We're going to go Burrow despite the tough matchup. And then Smith, Ayuk, Watson, Nico Collins, Joshua Palmer, Rashee Rice, Walker, Cook, Gibbs, Kmet, Kincaid, Jefferson on the IR. Yeah, so we're going to go Burrow at quarterback. Wide receiver, we're going to go Ayuk, Nico Collins. Running back, we're going to be going, assuming Purdy plays. If Purdy does miss, then, which is a high probability at this point, then we'll pivot to Smith and Nico Collins. Running back, we're going to go Walker, Cook, and Gibbs for the flex. Tight end, we will go Kincaid over Kmet. C. Diesel, always happy to see us, says, 12-team PBR, we have Hurts, Stevenson, Jacobs, Hill, Allen, Goddard, Amari, London, Davis, Moss, Boyd, Hubbard, Foreman, receive, Foreman, Browns, DST for Higgins and Jaleel, or keep Foreman. I'd rather have Higgins over Foreman. Obviously, the Browns do have a great defense, but still, I'm not going to really value these defenses in trades. Yeah, I think Foreman, really not going to be startable going forward if Roschon's good to go. They are going to be splitting this backfield. So, yeah, I think we're going to go ahead. I think that it makes a lot of sense for us to go sell Foreman to the Browns, DSC for T. Higgins. And I honestly don't even care about Jaleel. I think you can cut Jaleel. Shot says pick 3, Sutton, Downs, Rice, Palmer, or Gus Edwards. We're going to go Downs, Rice, and Joshua Palmer in a full PPR format. Even though anybody with the brain says Sutton, I just mentally cannot do it. I mentally can't do it. Now, Steven says, pick one to stream. Dak, Darnold. No, where are we going? My man, go Dak Prescott. I know Dak has been bad. If you look at the implied team total, they're supposed to score like 27 points against the Rams. Oscar says, DJ Moore for Hopkins and Dallas Goedert. I can't trade for Hopkins right now, not with the Tannehill injury, plus Treylon Burks coming back in. Now, Yaniv says 10-team full BBR double flex, Pitts or Kincaid at tight ends. I'm going to be going Kincaid. And for the 2 flex spots, Higgins, Hollywood, Bourne, or Foreman. I'm going to be going Higgins and Hollywood if Roschon plays. And if Roschon doesn't, then we pivot from Higgins to Foreman. Steven says, I've had enough of Brian Robinson. Washington throws 1,000 times. Not going to follow you at all. And also the snap shares going down in this offense as well. Steven says, pick 3, Stevenson, Foreman, Warren, Edwards, DJ Moore. Okay. We're going to go DJ Moore, Stevenson, Edwards if Roschon plays, Foreman if Roschon doesn't. Now, Bo Spam says traded Spears and White for Jerome Ford. Win or loss? I think you lost, to be honest. I would rather have Spears and White over Ford. Now, Kyle says, happy BR, we have CMC, Pollard, Jones, Hunt, Warren, and Debo, Sutton, Palmer, Johnson, Michael Thomas. Should I try to sell Pollard for Amon-Ra St. Brown? And then any other suggestions for improving at receiver? Honestly, it is up to you. I just think that running back points are so much harder to come by than wide receiver points. So I think that you could do that once we at least have Aaron Jones good to go. But for now, I think we're going to be sitting on our hands, seeing what we get from Aaron Jones. And if he actually is able to come back here. But for now, we just don't know. And the issue also in selling Tony Pollard is he's already gone through his bye week, where obviously that hasn't been the case for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, Zeke the Don coming out saying, should we trade Kupp and Walker for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Bijan? Give me Bijan over Walker, Kupp, Amon-Ra St. Brown up to you. I think it's a very fair deal, and I think it's your personal preference. Elite Henry says also, but we have depth. Mike for Eckler. If it's Mike Franco, I'm taking Eckler. Not even close. Not close there, my friend. Dylan says, Allen, Puka, Aaron Jones, Kelsey. For Bijan, Diggs, Waddle, Andrews. Kelsey to Diggs, up to you. Puka to Bijan, give me Bijan. Allen to Andrews, probably Allen. Jones to Waddle, up to you. I think it is a fair deal, and it's going to come down to who else we have at quarterback. Typically, I'd never want to be going out there and saying, hey, I'll give you my 4 best players for your 4 best players. Like, how is that a win-win situation, you know? Probit says trade DJ Moore and Gibbs for Devontae Adams. If it's a 2 wide receiver single flex like 10-team league, then sure. Micah says Mixon Ridley for Kyler JT. Lawrence is my quarterback. JT over Mixon, Ridley for Kyler. I think honestly you can go ahead and make this play if you want. Obviously Lawrence has been very bad. I don't think Kyler's like guaranteed to be that much better though. Younglock says, hey Mason, 12-team PPR. I was just offered Jacobs, Adams, Pickens, and Henderson for Eckler, HN, Godwin. Should we accept? Give me Eckler over Jacobs. Godwin, Pickens about the same. HN, Adams, up to you. I'm going to go Eckler, HN, and Godwin. Eckler, HN, and Godwin. Jordan says, hey Mason, should we trade Eckler and Lamb for for Lamb and Aaron Jones? We're going to go Eckler. I am coming from a place where I have no Austin Eckler, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Austin Eckler was my least drafted player in round 1 of fantasy drafts. But with that being said, this is a player that now is in a better spot than he was at the beginning of the season. Quentin Johnston is a bum, and Mike Williams is out for the year. So you are going to get the consistent target volume. And he's through his bye as well. So I don't want to be selling Eckler. I don't want to be selling Eckler, to be honest. Okay. Now, Deland says, Waddle and Lamb for Amon-Ra and Pickens. We have Cup. I think it depends on a couple things. One, your league settings. 2, the Tyreek injury. Honestly, tough spot. Tough spot, my friend. And Tsunami says, hey, Mason, I think it's a fair deal, and it's up to you. Tsunami says, hey, Mason, current roster in a 12-team league. We have Allen, Taylor, Hall, Hill, A.J. Brown, Laporta, Wilson. And then on the bench, we have Gibbs, Spears, Roshan, Warren, London, Palmer, Kyler. Any suggestions on who to trade? Super strong team, to be honest. Full BBR format, we're going to look to hold on to Gibbs. I like that we're focusing in on running backs down there on the bench that are an injury away from making a big difference. I think if we could sell, say, Kyler and Garrett Wilson and go get a stud for the flex, that'd be a no-brainer when we have Allen. Overall, I don't necessarily think that we need to make a move, though, outside of that Kyler trade, but obviously it's hard to know if we for sure can do that. All right, but our next question is going to come out from Anthony. Just give me 1 second to refresh this so we can keep bringing them up. And as I do this, if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. We're about 10 likes away from 700 likes on this stream, and we have live streamed every single day since April. Today is day 180 in a row. But our next question coming out from Anthony says, what trades should we make? We have Lawrence, Pollard, Kamara, Walker, Adams, St. Brown, Kelsey, Waddle, Higgins, Stroud, and Achane. Really depends on our record. If you are a team that's like 5-2, we actually probably want to be holding on, say, to Devon Achane for the long-term upside. However, if we're like 2-5, then if we can sell Devon Achane and Trevor Lawrence for an elite level quarterback, I think that'd make a lot of sense. And then also going to depend on your scoring format. If this is a non-PPR league, I think we'd love to sell we'd love to sell Kamara. Full PPR league, we probably look to hold him, but very strong team. Tariv says, should we trade Olave for DJ Moore? I'll pull up where we have these guys in my rest of season rankings for you, my friend. Typically, these like wide receiver twos, they're all so damn close. It really does. I mean, almost, I don't want to say all the time, but a lot of the time, it just really does come down to your personal preference here. But currently, if you're looking at my wide receivers between Olave and DJ Moore, we have these on flockfantasy.com. I currently have Olave at 30 overall and Moore at 46 overall. But if you're looking at that range, they are so damn close, and it's going to be up to you. It really is up to you. Now, Vegas says get offered Aaron Jones and HN for Jacobs and a 10-team PPR format. I think, honestly, you probably go Aaron Jones and HN if you can afford to wait the long term and just look for that long-term upside. Now, Tommy Boy says 10-team PPR format. We have Tua, Etienne, Mixon, Keenan, Kupp, Kelsey, Javonte, Hopkins, Gabe Davis, Lockett, Najee. Rate the squad. I think it's a very strong team, having the elite level tight end, having the elite level quarterback, and wide receiver running back were great at the top end. I will say actually, no, we are well balanced down here at the bottom end. Maybe having a little bit too much wide receiver depth. I mean, the second that we would get an opportunity to sell two of those receivers together, like Hopkins and Lockett for an upgrade there, I think we would, or Hopkins and Javonte for a better running back, we would. Bean says, hey, I'm in 126th place on Best Ball Mania. That is awesome. Never been this high. So what are the odds I end up in first? Championship rules confuse me. Okay, so there are two different things with Best Ball Mania. One is going to be the regular season aspect. So with the regular season aspect, you're 126th currently, and then that's just total scoring through the entire tournament. I'd say the odds you get first, very, very slim. I mean, you're definitely better odds than I have. I'll tell you that. Now, what's going to happen is for the overall tournament, for the playoff aspect, the top two teams in every league are going to advance to the playoff tournament, where you're put into brackets of, like, say, teams of 18. And then you're going to have 3 weeks of the fantasy football playoffs where, like, at that point, the top two teams in every bracket then will advance. So it's still a long shot, but yeah, great team. And you're going to win money no matter what if you have a team that high. Just not going to win. I just don't want to come out and say, oh yeah, you're very likely to win millions of dollars. Go take out the second mortgage on the house, my man. Obviously, that's hard to say. Now, Moose coming out saying 10-team PPR single flex. We have Herbert, A.J. Brown, Ridley, Saquon Pacheco, Hawkinson, Debo, Ford, Palmer, Michael Thomas, Pitts, Jeff Wilson Jr., Elijah Mitchell, Freeman. 6-1, first place. Great team. I think that honestly, if you're looking at this team, it'd make a lot of sense for us to go out there and make that long-term play and see if we could sell, say, like Kyle Pitts and, I don't know, Isaiah Pacheco and go get Jefferson. Throw in Ford, just throw in a small piece, see if we can do it. But ultimately, we have the great quarterback with the great tight end. We have running backs and receivers at the top that we like. Really, the only question mark that we may have is the wide receiver 2 currently. Okay. Ethan says, 8-team, someone drop Debo and Kyron. My bench is Swift, Collins, Palmer, Meyer, Moss, Roshan. I could put Kyron in the IR spot, pick him up. Oh, yeah, go pick up Kyron, put him in the IR spot. Go pick up Debo as well. Just drop someone like Roshan to get it done. So drop Roshan, pick up Kyron, put Kyron in the IR, then with the open spot, get Debo. But yeah, that's why we're always talking about making 2-for-1 deals in 18 leagues, just because you're always going to be able to go through and find a steal off waivers. Okay. Now, Connor says Lawrence or Love this week. Jordan Love's actually been better than Trevor Lawrence so far this season. I don't know. Maybe I'm a sucker for still going with Lawrence, but I have Lawrence ranked as like QB9 this week. I'm going to go Lawrence. GDF says 6-1, 4-player keeper. We have Herbert, Purdy, JT, Kyron, Gibbs, Henderson, Singletary, Charbonnet, Fournette, Diggs, Lamb, Puka, Hollywood, Curtis Samuel, Hawkinson. Pollard for Gibbs. Any tips? Thanks. Thank you so much, my friend. Hell yeah, I would love to go out there and make this deal. Obviously, with this being a 4-player keeper league, the keeper aspect is maybe going to give you a premium to the younger backs, such as Jahmyr Gibbs. So completely understand you wanted to go out there and, a league mate wanted to go out there and make that play. But if you're 6-1, we're more so thinking about right this second And you definitely would rather have Tony Pollard, and Pollard still can be someone you keep next year. So I think it makes so much sense to make that move. Jerry says Pollard, Pacheco, Brees, Mostert ranked rest of season. We're going to go Pollard, Brees, Mostert, then Pacheco. Depends on what you think of the Miami. The thing is, it's hard to have Mostert ranked as the last guy here when Mostert's been by far and away the best player here. Now, Jack says, full BBR, 16-team league. We have Tua, Etienne, Gibbs, Chase, Waddle, Brown, Waller, Javonte. Should I accept Puka for Javonte Brown and Deontay Johnson? So I would say if you are looking at this team, it's very much hinging on what we currently have with those, with the league settings. Because if this was a league where, say, you started 2 wide receivers, it was a 10-team league where we start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, or it was even a 12-team league, then for sure I'm going to sell Javonte Brown and Deontay Johnson for Puka, and I'm not even going to be thinking twice. However, I would say now, if we're going to be looking at this, it's probably a much tougher spot to do it because it's a 16-team league where these starters will be much harder to come by. You can look to do this maybe later in the season when we're through the bye weeks. Not right now, though. Ryan says, do I trade Higgins and Ford for Flowers and Pierce? 12-team league with the 2-5 record. We have Fields, Stroud, CMC, Stevenson, A.J. Brown, London, Goddard. I would say probably not with most teams, but if you're 2-5 and needed points now, and obviously Ford's not going to give them for you, then sure, make it. Gregory says flex Downs or Christian Watson. If you look at what you have on Underdog Fantasy, they're projecting Christian Watson to be a much better play. I'm going to go Downs, though, until we actually get to see the Christian Watson breakout. Now, David says 7-0 PBR on steroids. Got offered Jefferson and Pacheco for Kupp, Swift. Should I? We have Tyreek, Amon-Ra, Tua. So I would trade Kupp for Jefferson on a 7-0 roster, but also to go through and give up the running back at the same time. I would say you're probably paying up a little bit too much. I like the idea. The issue is just the price of it. Like, you're buying Jefferson as if he's fully healthy right now. Blake says, howdy, we starting Demercado or Kareem this week? Probably Kareem. Kareem Hunt didn't practice, but they're saying he's going to be good to go. Billy says 12-team full BBR. Trade Terry and Rice for Amari and Hollywood. Yes, I would do this, my friend. We have Debo, Waddle, Godwin, Eckler, Foreman, Henderson. Yeah, so Amari's not great right now when he has PJ Walker as his quarterback. Hollywood's not great right now when he has Dobbs as his quarterback. But long-term here, you're going to get Kyler. You will get Deshaun Watson, hopefully. So I think we go with the other receivers. Bill says, Pacheco, Etienne, Gibbs, Bijan. Who are we going to sit out? Tough spot. Honestly, maybe Gibbs, because you do have that very good matchup for Pacheco going up against Denver. Now, Jason says 12-team PBR, 3 receivers, 1 flex, 5-2. We have Hurts, CMC, Hall, Waddle, Pittman, Puka, Laporta, Hollywood, Nico, Deontay, Gus, Edwards, Gibson. Any trades I should try? Package a receiver in Gus for an upgraded running back. Okay. I like the idea, especially in a, actually, no. I mean, so we have Waddle, Pittman, Puka, wide receiver. We have Hollywood, Nick. Oh, yeah. We have so much wide receiver depth. Yeah, I do think we can afford it. And honestly, it's probably a realistic trade that we can get done when you have to start 3 wide receivers in this league. So they are going to be a little bit more valuable. So yeah, if you could sell maybe like Deontay Johnson and Gus Edwards, the issue is like, what wide receiver are we selling here? If you wanted to sell like Hollywood and Gus Edwards, I don't know if we're going to be able to get that. Maybe Pittman and Edwards and see if we can pivot over to like Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, really any of the receivers outside of Waddle or Puka for that price point, I think would make a lot of sense. Just going back to what we were always saying, it's just much easier said than done. Now, Eric says 10-team BBR double flex. We have Allen, Eckler, Swift, AJ Lamb, Puka, Nico, Andrews. 2 and 5, most points scored against. Oh my gosh. My man, you got to play better defense here. Congrats on having the most points scored, but that's just half the game. You need to be getting in the head of your opponents. You need to be messing up their start-sit decisions. You need to be showing up to their house at night, rattling on their windows, whispering in their ear, start McCole Hardman. Start McCole Hardman. McCole Hardman blow up. You got to be sending them texts nonstop, intimidating them. Your defensive game just needs to step up. Like having the most points scored in your league, but being 2 and 5. You got to fix something here, my friend. Now, King Matt says, 12-team, full BBR, double flex league. Do we think we make a move for a top-tier QB1 or roll with what we have? Lawrence, Bijan, Brees, Monreal, Olave, Laporta, Higgins, Addison, Connor. Oh, hell yes. I mean, I think that if we could sell Connor and Lawrence to get a top 4 quarterback, that'd be an absolute no-brainer. 12-team double flex format is going to make it a little more difficult to do this. But yeah, if you honestly, maybe even Addison, if you wanted to sell Addison and Lawrence and go out there and get Hurts, Allen, or Mahomes, I think that makes sense as well. Jackson says trade Godwin for Higgins. I honestly probably would, my friend. Now, Roberto has our next question. Let's see if we can swing this back to the other screen. Okay. Nobody trading any quarterbacks that are not top 10 for week 8. So, I mean, are you asking if you, for a streaming quarterback? If you're asking for a streaming quarterback, Jordan Love's not the worst answer. Gardner Minshew, obviously, has had a lot of passing volume in Indy. Alfonso says, full BBR, double flex. We have Lamb for Smith and Zay. Lamb, Olave for Jacob, Zay, Devontae. Olave over Devonta Smith. Lamb versus Jacobs and Zay up to your team. Double flex league. I think the second deal we do Lamb and Olave for Jacob, Zay, and Devonta Smith. I don't know if we're going to sell just Lamb for Smith and Zay. We have JT, Saquon, White, Gibbs. But we do have a lot of depth. So honestly, you don't have to do either deal if you don't want to. If you were going to do one, it would be the second. Shelby says, what do you think about these trades? Traded away Chase for Eckler. Traded away Burrow, Olave, Barkley, and Amari for Hurts, Montgomery, and Higgins. Burrow to Hurts, big-time upgrade. Barkley to Montgomery, big-time downgrade. Amari to Higgins, upgrade. We paid Olave to get it done. I think, honestly, both deals are lateral moves. I think it really does depend on your personal preference. I will say, typically, I'm looking to avoid, like, blockbuster-type trades like this where we're sending, like, our 4 or 5 best players and getting theirs in return, because typically it's only going to be a deal that is a win for one team, a loss for the other, where I'd way rather go through and way rather try to find wins on both ends. Boomer Nation, Hokamorns, my man, says start Waddle or Jacobs at the flex. We have Allen, Eckler, Mostert, AJ Brown, Thielen. You go. Appreciate you, my friend. I think we're going to go ahead. I'm going to take Waddle. I think that we can look at Jacobs in the long term and be more confident about him next week. I just want to see what the workload looks like. I'm a little bit worried. Jerry says Pollard, Pacheco, Hall, Mostert, rank rest of season. We're going to go Pollard, Hall, Mostert, then Pacheco. I think we already did this for you, my friend. Parker says offered Ridley Pickens for Moss in Hollywood. It's a single flex. Do we take it? Probably yes. I think Pickens and Hollywood are about the same. I think Moss falls into like the Tyler Algier mold where you're only starting him if you have an injury to the guy in front of him. I mean, if you really needed to, you can. I think I really don't have any Calvin Ridley at all, but I'd still rather have Ridley over Moss. Sean says Wandale or Hyatt as a stash. I'm going to go Wandale just given the way they play the position. I think Hyatt could be a better real-life receiver while Wandale could be a better fantasy option. Hyatt's going to be the field-stretching guy, not commanding a lot of volume. Then with Saquon back, who benefits most from the run threat and also benefits most when Danny Dimes back. I don't think, honestly, those two impact Hyatt at all. I think really you just need to understand like the roles that they're playing in this offense, right? Where you do have Hyatt as that field-stretching option, where Wandale is the option underneath. So, I mean, the easiest parallel I could give here is it's like the ultimate poor man's Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? By no means are they nearly as good as Jamison and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Definitely a poor man's version, but that's what we're looking at. Now, Jackson says 10-team PBR. We have Mahomes, Pacheco, Taylor, Chase, Diggs, Laporta, Addison, Kyron Deontay, Lawrence, Tank, Downs. Any moves we should look to make? If we have Mahomes, I'd love to see it. I mean, honestly, we're not going to do anything right now. We're having to wait for some of these injured guys to come back and increase their value. And we're going to have to hope that we get a reasonable week from Trevor Lawrence sometime soon. And if we do get, a decent week from Lawrence soon, then at that point, we'd be able to go through and send, say, Lawrence and another player for an upgrade, maybe at like the flex spot. Like if Lawrence blows up this week, Lawrence and Addison for a stud receiver in the flex when we have Mahomes. But it's just difficult to go out there and make that trade right now when nobody wants the guy. Freddie says 14-team double flex 2 and 5. Trade away Jefferson to save the season. Is Swift a good option? I would say ask for another wide receiver on top of it. I agree, especially in a 14-team double flex league where depth's going to be harder to come by. So, losing out on Jefferson's going to hurt worse. And if we're 2 and 5, we need points right now. So I think you probably have to go through and sell Jefferson to stay in it. But ultimately, I do think we want to swing for a little more value. Jerry says Mostert or Montgomery rest of season. I think it very much depends on your roster. I think that they're close. If you need production in the long term, you probably go Montgomery. If you need production now, you probably go Mostert. If I had to give an edge to one, I'll go Mostert. Dougie says, start a tight end into the flex, Goddard, Kincaid, Amari, and Dell. We're going to go Goddard at tight end, even though Kincaid looks great. And then we're going to be going Amari at wide receiver, even though obviously you're not excited with PJ Walker. Jerry says, deal Mostert and Wilson for Pollard. They need a receiver. Hell yes, go get Pollard. Metro Boomin says Pierce, Henderson, Tajir, Amari at RB2 this week. Probably going to go Amari to Mercado just because, last week he saw about 80% of the snaps. Brandon says, love Mixon, Madison, White, Diggs, Wilson, Waller, Sutton, Boyd, Samuel, Zay. Do we accept Nico Collins for Rashad White? And do we accept Amari and Lockett for Wilson? I would say no because Madison's not startable either. I think you need to hold on to Rashad White. Definitely start Rashad White over Alexander Madison. If you could sell Madison at this price point, we would. The issue is White is actually seeing every single one of his touches, right? Where that's just simply not the case with Madison. Let's move this over. Alan coming out with the donation. Thank you. Ryan says, double flex. We have Goddard, Sint, Kittle, Downs for Hollywood. No, you need much more. I like the idea, but no, you need a much better price. Xavier says trade Swift and Rice for Ayuk and no. Wide receiver production is so much easier to come by than running back production. If you are selling, the other question before this was someone asking if they should sell Jefferson for Swift, right? Like selling Swift and going and getting Ayuk, you're just not getting nearly enough, at least in my mind. Now, who's here coming out says, was offered Olave and Achane for Barkley. We have JT, Connor, Jeff Wilson, Singletary, AJ Brown, Pittman, Hopkins, JSN, Reed, 12-team PBR. I'm 2 and 5. Can I wait on Achane? And any other thoughts? I would say we cannot wait on Achane because we also have the James Conner injury. So I think that you need to go ahead. I think that honestly, we need to take the Saquon Barkley side. And I wouldn't mind taking this one step further and saying, if you're 2 and 5, like we're not thinking long-term. We're not thinking about waiting for these players to come back. We're thinking about getting points in, making sure we don't fall to 2 and 6, 2 and 7. Because if you all 2 and 7, who cares if Devon Achane and James Conner come back in and they're very exciting? Ultimately, it's not going to make a difference. So what I would look to do is I would look to see if we could go through and maybe sell, say, James Conner as well. And just go get a running back like James Cook. Go get a running back like Rachaad White that we can start right now. Alan says, have BBR 12-team league. Streaming QB, Henry, Brees, Moore, Myers, Ingram, Wilson, Rice, Higgins, Hubbard. Looking for a QB1 or receiver 1. What are your suggestions? The issue is if we're trading for a quarterback, I am only really wanting to trade for QBs that are going to be matchup proof. Outside of that, like I never want to be trading for like Jordan Love and then just having a quarterback that we're just playing the matchups with, right? And just we could have been better off streaming the entire time. If you could sell DJ Moore and go get a matchup proof quarterback, you can go get Lamar, go get Allen, go get Hurts, go get Mahomes. You can send that offer. In reality, I think that you're probably in a spot where you just want to cut Chuba Hubbard, pick up another quarterback off waivers, and then play the matchups. Because the last thing I want to do is just sell Rashee Rice for Jordan Love, and it doesn't really solve the issue that we have. Jackson says 18 PBR league, Tua, Bijan, Saquon, Cup, Chase, TJ, Amon-Ra, Jacoby, Ford, Waddle, White, Algier, Kincaid, 2 trades sent to me. Jefferson for Amon-Ra and Waddle, and ETN for Bijan, Waddle, Jacoby. Easily the Bijan, Waddle, Jacoby, and honestly, easily Amon-Ra and Waddle. I think that you can respond to the first deal at least. I think you can go through and go, hey man, if you need production right now, I'll give you Amon-Ra St. Brown for Justin Jefferson. If you wanted to make that swing, you could go ahead and do it. Just because ultimately at the end of the day, it's an 8-team league where depth's not going to matter nearly as much as just chasing that elite level ceiling. Obviously, St. Brown does have that crazy ceiling. The issue is once you get to like adding value to Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's where it's like, okay, it's going to be much tougher to do that, my friend. Chris says, what's up, my man? How are we feeling about this trade? I get Adams for Schultz and Addison. Oh, I would for sure go do that. Obviously, Dynasty, you're taking Addison. But if it's just a redraft league, go give me Devontae Adams. Okay. Now, Bull says Seahawks or Browns DST this week. We're going to go ahead. I think that I am going to take, oh my gosh. Let's pull up some spreads. Honestly, I have no idea. The Browns have a way better defense. Obviously, it's an easier matchup. For the Seahawks going up against PJ Walker. Can y'all spam the chat? What direction are you going to go in? Are you going to go with the Seahawks defense or the Browns defense? Please let me know in the live chat. And as we wait for you in the chat, Tyler says, Debo Pierce, Lockett, Pollard, full PPR. I'm going to take the Pollard side there. Pollard side. Yes, I don't know if people in the chat are going to be able to answer this either. Yeah, it's a really tough spot. Browns, Seahawks. Here's what I'll say. If you're already rostering the Browns for long term, I'm not going to be dropping a player to pick up Seattle and play Seattle over the Browns. So I would go with the Browns just because I think it's close this week, and I would rather use the extra roster spot somewhere else, if that makes sense. That'd be my preference. Now, DM says, have BBR 10-team league 3 and 4. Looking to trade for Burrow and Chase from a receiver packed with no running backs. We have Eckler, Walker, Mostert, Kamara, Ramadre, Wilson, Olave to use as packages. I think first thing is you would send, say, especially in a happy BR league, Eckler for Chase and Burrow, Walker for Chase and Burrow, see what they respond with. And then if they do not like one of those deals, then we can look to sell, say, Kamara and Wilson or Kamara and Olave in a package. But Dylan says 5 and 2, 12-team BBR. We have Goff, Jacobs, Swift, Kupp, AJ Ingram, Higgins, Lawrence, Spears, Hopkins, Palmer, Gainwell, Pierce, trade Cup, Jacobs, Lawrence, Hopkins for Tyreek and Gibbs. What are your thoughts? Okay. Cup to Tyreek, obviously give me Tyreek. Jacobs to Gibbs, obviously give me Jacobs. Ultimately, I don't think Lawrence and Hopkins are going to move the needle enough, especially as we get Burks back in. If we really don't need to be worried about Tyreek and Tyreek's good to go, I think we go Tyreek. It does seem like a premium to pay while there is the little bit of uncertainty, though. Now, Jacob says 12-team PBR 5-2. Goff, Bijan, Swift, Pittman, Myers, Pitts, Metcalf. Henry, Higgins, Davis, Lawrence, Spears. Starts it. I'm thinking after my RB buy 10 and 11, I trade for Jefferson. His owner's last, Henry +1. If you want to trade for Jefferson, you have to do it now. And yeah, I would love to go out there. I love the idea. If we can sell Henry and Metcalf, Henry and Myers, and go get Justin Jefferson, especially if that owner's last, right? They honestly need to go out there. They need to make that deal. They need production in their starting lineup right this second. So I think that does make a lot of sense. The issue is if you're waiting until like week 12 to get it done and Justin Jefferson's already back, then at that point it's too late. Now, Hoosier coming out says, oh, I have Goff, Purdy, Kyler for quarterback. Laporta, Johnny at tight end. The other guy is Jacob, Stevenson, and JJ. Okay, let's pull this back up. Okay. Yeah, ultimately, my friend, it doesn't really change. Ultimately, we are still trying to get rid of Connor. We are still trying to get rid of Achane on a team that's 2-5. Where we are looking for not long-term upside, but points in this lineup right now. OCT says better flex, Ramadre or Garrett Wilson. Ugh. Just raw points, probably Garrett Wilson. Big Pew says Kamara, Rashad, and Evans for Eckler and Debo. Give me Eckler over Kamara. Debo, Evans, up to you. Paying Rashad White to get it done. I would do it. Saltwater says full BBR, single flex. Playing versus the only undefeated team, other undefeated team. Incredibles, 2-7-0 teams. Who do we start? Hill, Smith, Addison, Wilson, Palmer, Myers, Mostert, Royce, Freeman, Ahmed. We need brutal injuries. Okay, so we're going to be going with, assuming Hill's good to go, Hill and Addison at wide receiver. Running back, we're going to be going Mostert and Royce Freeman. Then for the flex, we are going to go Devonta Smith. And if Tyreek Hill were to miss, then instead we put we put Jacoby Myers in there at wide receiver. Go Jacoby Myers in a wide receiver in that case. Matt says 12-team PPR. We have Hunt, Swift, Keenan, Puka, Hawkinson, Lamb. Good offer Jefferson and White for Lamb. Do we do it? If you have a winning record and we can think long, honestly, I do this regardless. You have a great team. Yeah, let's go get Jefferson there, my friend. Now, Hockey for Life-ish says 2-5. We have Allen and Tua. Need more running back. Allen for Swift, straight up, or ask for more. I'd be asking for more. I do have Josh Allen over. If you can sell Tua for Swift, I would do that. See if we can sell Tua for Swift. Jacob says I could maybe get James Conner and Waddle for Henry and Metcalf. Okay. This is a 5-2 team where James Conner, we are looking at that long-term upside. Yeah, it is still. I mean, I'd rather have Derrick Henry rest of season over James Conner, even if James Conner was healthy. I don't think the upgrade from Metcalf to Waddle's too much. I like the idea of going out there and trading for that long-term piece if we can get him at a discount right now. I don't necessarily think that price point makes sense, though. Carlos says, hey, Mason, I'm here every day and a big fan from Mexico. Really appreciate you, my friend. 10 TBBR 3 and 4. Tua, Josh, Etienne, Cup, Ayuk, Hogginson, Mixon, Downs, Rice, Pickens, Connor. Should I trade Cup and Josh for DJ Moore, Ridley, Bijan? So Cup to Bijan. Cup, I think we have Cup ranked at like 6 in our rest of season rankings. And we have Bijan down at like 8 or 9. So we'll go Cup over Bijan. This is Josh Jacobs versus DJ Moore. Give me Jacobs. I don't think Ridley bridges the gap. And I think it's close for me in my mind. If it's close for me in my mind, I probably have to go with the other side than Bijan Robinson, because obviously I'm always going to go with the Bijan side. And then are Josh for Montgomery and Ridley. I would say we're probably going to go Josh here as well, just because the issue is on a 3 and 4 team, I don't necessarily want to be in a position where we are going out there and we are trading for an injured running back, right? Especially if we're dealing with the James Conner injury right now. Now, Jawad says, I'm 4 and 3 in a 12-team single flex PPR format. We have Allen, DJ Moore, Adams, Eckler, Pacheco, Swift, Brees, Kincaid, Kirk. Who do we start? Great team. We're going to go Eckler, Brees at running back, with honestly Swift at the flex, even if I would love to get in Pacheco given the matchup. Wide receiver, we're going to go Adams, DJ Moore. And I would love to start Pacheco. I just don't think we can. And then obviously Kincaid at tight ends. But great team. Dougie says Pacheco, Deontay, or Adams and Kyron rest of season. Probably Adams and Kyron, assuming that we can wait for the long-term production of Kyron. Pacheco's going to crush this week against Denver. Paul says, trade Walker, London for Jefferson or St. Brown. If you are fine at running back, completely fine with this move. And honestly, Jefferson, St. Brown depends on your record. And it depends if we need points now or later. Okay. Now, Michael says, get offered Wilson, Palmer, Aaron Jones for one of my running backs. Eckler, Pollard, Bijan. Hell no. Tell him no. We don't have much depth. No. You don't need the depth. We can backfill off waivers. You have 3 stud running backs. I mean, we'll sell one of these guys, but we definitely need a better price than that. JJ says 12-team double flex PPR 4 and 3. We have Watson, Minshew, Connor, Jacobs, Wilson, Singletary, Madison, Keenan, AJ Brown, Higgins, Watson, Evans, Goddard. Any moves? Depth's going to be harder to come by. 12-team double flex league where we have the Connor injury. We're starting Keenan, AJ Brown at receiver. Evans at one of the flexes. Probably starting 2 receivers in the flex. We're dealing with the Watson injury as well. This is a very difficult spot because like these injured guys are not going to get a ton of value for, and we're 4 and 3, so we can think a little more long term. So honestly, it sucks to say, and I know it's a very boring answer, but I think you're probably just kind of going to be sitting on our hands here, and we're more so going to be waiting until we get Deshaun Watson back in, waiting until we get James Conner back in. And once we get them, I think we should be in a much better spot. Shelby says, honestly, let's go ahead. Shelby, let's pull this back up just so I make sure we don't forget something. I'm going to assume Roshan's not going to make a big difference, though. Okay. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter what side Roshan's going on there. I mean, it's just such a small piece whenever you're moving like 2 cruise ships. That's a wave hitting it. It's not going to matter. And I love Roshan, hook 'em horns, but he's not worth that much more than a roster spot. iProdigen says 5 and 2 PBR traded Saquon and Amari for Mixon and Devonta Smith. I would rather have Saquon and Amari, if I'm going to be honest. Seems like we're selling Saquon pretty damn low now, especially if you have the Giants offensive line getting a little bit better. Chase says 12-team PBR, Pat, Pollard, Etienne, Keenan, Adams, Sam Laporta. Any moves? I don't see the bench. Really hard to know if the roster is constructed in the correct way. I mean, in terms of the starting lineup, we're not looking to sell any of these guys per se. I would say, though, I mean, if you have, say, Patrick Mahomes down there on the bench, just please make sure you're not rostering another quarterback down there on the bench. Now, Myth says 2 and 5, Jefferson, Ridley for Swift and Pittman or Devonta Smith? If we could keep Ridley, if we're 2-5, selling Jefferson for Swift and Pittman would make sense. I just want a better price on Jefferson than that. Like, we're almost for sure losing the long term, right? Now, Derek says Superflex 2-5, Pittman, Jones, Howell for Jacobs. Probably not in a Superflex league, honestly. And not in Superflex. Quiddy says flex start Flowers, Kirk, Moore, or Jameson. I'm going to go DJ Moore. I know that Justin Fields is not in, so it hurts the Bears. But honestly, I don't think it hurts the passing volume in this offense. You're not going to have any passing volume with Fields regardless. Flock Soldier says, Hugga Moore is my man. If Lawrence doesn't play, who should we start as the backup, Carr or Ritter? I'm going to go Carr, but it's damn close. And when you play the Falcons defense over the Dolphins defense, go Longhorns. Go Longhorns, my man. The Dolphins right now have a massive, massive spread on their game. Going up against one of the worst teams in the NFL. I think we probably play the Falcons D. Actually, I think we go the Falcons D, right? Because they can get real ugly if we have a combination of Malik Willis and Will Levis. Now, Coochie Man says Lamb, Smith, Kyler for Chase. If we have Jalen Hurts, then yes, we will do it. Go get Chase. Jovi says traded Brees and T for Bijan and Hollywood. Oh, great move. Great move, my friend. Louis says 6-1. Mahomes, Kelsey, Keenan, Waddle, Mixon, Achane, Jefferson. I can trade for Kupp or Saquon for Jefferson and Mixon. Give me Jefferson and Mixon over Saquon or Kupp. Especially 6-1 where we are thinking long-term. I definitely want the Jefferson and Mixon side. Connor says, Ramondre and Watson for Mixon. Happy BR, appreciate it. Appreciate you, my friend. I think we are going to go ahead and take Mixon if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league where the depth's not going to matter that much. Now, Erlin says, hey, Mason, 12-team full BBR 3-4. We just traded Jacobs, Amari, Hollywood. And we got back Etienne, DK, JSN. Did we win the trade? What do you think? Jacobs to Etienne, big time upgrade. Amari to DK, who cares? Hollywood to JSN, who cares? 100% yes, I do think that we won that deal. I have a lot of Jacobs, but I mean, obviously you have to prefer Travis Etienne at this point. I do have more Etienne than Jacobs, but Keaton says JT, Jacobs, Kareem, Stevenson, or Aaron Jones. We got to pick 2. We're going to be going JT and Jacobs, even though I don't feel great about Jacobs this week. And then Wilson, Ridley, Hollywood, Nico, McLaurin, Downs. Pick 1 for wide receiver 2. We will be going Garrett Wilson. And then for the flex spot, it's going to come down to Kareem Hunt, Aaron Jones, and I would say Nico Collins. With the running backs, I want to continue to monitor the injury reports over the next few weeks. And I'm sorry, actually, we're going to go Nico Collins over Garrett Wilson. And then we're going to play Garrett Wilson or one of the running backs in the flex. Okay, I'm very sorry if we missed your question lines. Let me go ahead and see if we can find this. Lions. Just give me 1 second. And as I do this, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. Today is day 180 in a row of live streaming every single day. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And the usual Underdog special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for new people on Underdog, Josh Allen for Thursday. But since we also had so many people sign up to Underdog with promo code FLOCK over the past few weeks, they're also hooking y'all up with an Amon-Ra St. Brown special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard on top of that. So please make sure you take advantage. Okay, I'm so sorry about this, my friend, but 12-team PPR, Stroud, Bijan, Etienne, St. Brown, Cup, Kincaid, Chiefs defense, and then on the bench, we have Puka, Taylor, Watson, Logan Thomas, Godwin, London, Achane. Any suggestions? I thought that we actually answered this. But yeah, I mean, this is a team that has a lot of depth, right? And we have great wide receivers down there on the bench. I think when we have Kincaid coming in, I definitely want to hold on to Kincaid for the time being. Really, the only thing that we were talking about previously is seeing if we can go out there and try to scrape out any value for these depth wide receivers. We're simply just never going to need them on this team, such as like Godwin and or London, and sending them in a deal with the quarterback, CJ Stroud, and getting a stud quarterback there just because we can afford it ultimately. But Samuel coming out with our next question. It's 5-2. Says 12-team PPR single flex. We have Lawrence, CMC, JT, AJ Brown, Olave, Kincaid, and Rashad White at the flex. We have Jefferson, Kyler, Ferguson, Spears, Demercado on the bench. Any moves? Phenomenal team, phenomenal setup. We have, here, Kyler for the long term over Lawrence. We have Jefferson for the long term on a 5-2 team. We're not optimizing for too much, just high floor, low ceiling players down there on the bench. We have CMC, JT, AJ Brown, a beautiful spot to be in. I honestly think you're chilling. I mean, if you could get some value for Demercado and go get a long-term wide receiver, then sure. But much easier said than done. Now, Jovi says Jacobs and Ayuk for Etienne or Kamara or JT or Eckler. Wait. If I could trade Jacobs and Ayuk for either Etienne or Eckler, I would, not Kamara or JT. Sanami says offered Aaron Jones and Ridley for London and Kyler. If you have a viable quarterback, yeah, let's go get Aaron Jones and Ridley. I'd rather have Ridley over London. I'd rather have Aaron Jones over Kyler. I'm so sorry. Also, Downs or Jacobs for the flex. We're definitely going to be going with Jacobs there. Let me go ahead and find this. 10-team PPR, Burrow, St. Brown, Addison, Gibbs, Pollard, Hockenson, Downs. Chuba, Watson, Jacobs, Javonte, Spears, Achane. Any advice for 3 and 4? We have the depth where we have Jacobs down there on the bench. So honestly, we have Jacobs in the flex spot, but you were considering benching him. So honestly, you're in a spot where you really can wait for Devon Achane to come back in, even though we are 3 and 4. And when we do have this kind of depth, specifically down there on the bench, also Christian Watson and Downs as startable players. If you wanted to see if we can go out there and send like Josh Downs and Javonte Williams and go get either an upgrade at wide receiver or running back in the long term, I think that can make a lot of sense. Now, Mike says, we have Watson. Would you try to flip him for Kyler? I would not fault you at all if you would rather have Kyler over Watson at this point. Yeah, go make that move if you want to. Simon says, Happy BR made 2 trades this week. Yesterday it was Wilson and Walker for CMC, Mitchell, Dobbs. How? Mitchell Dobbs, literally zero value. You can cut him. But how are you selling Walker for Garrett Wilson? Today, Mostert for Henry. Solid move. Hopefully it gets dealt to a good spot. How are you doing that? We have Jefferson, Ayuk, Dobbs, Jameson, Johnston, CMC, Henry, Kyron, Warren. Phenomenal team. I think we wait until we get Kyron and Jefferson back from their respective injuries. And then at that point, we can go through and look to sell like Kyron in a wide receiver 2 to go get that upgrade. Cole says 12-team, 6-1, full PPR. We have Waddle, Lamp, Olave, Thielen, Watson, CMC, Mostert, Hall, JT, Walker. Tight end, we have Ferguson, Thomas, quarterback, Love, and Kyler. Don't know how they let me. How do we have this kind of running back production? I hate to say it, but honestly, I think that we probably should go ahead and look to see what we could get for Raheem Mostert. Because with Mostert, he's the one running back that may see a dip in value in the long term, right? And that if Devon Achane goes out there and expands his role, right? And we have CMC, Hall, JT, and Kenneth Walker. So we can afford to sell Mostert for a player that, to a team that may need that help at running back. Now, Jesse says 4-3, 10-team, where we have Herbert, Mixon, CMC, Amon-Ra, Puka, Dallas, Thielen. And then on the bench, we have Stafford, Mostert, Hollywood, HN, Connor. Should we make a trade? I would say no trade for now. Once we eventually get back Devon Achane and James Conner, then at that point, we're for sure going to see if we can go out there and get a true elite level player at tight end, an elite level player at quarterback. But for the time being, honestly, we're probably going to be sitting on our hands and just letting these guys get healthier and naturally accrue in value. Now, Flock Soldier says, who are we starting this week between Waller, Kincaid, and Hill? Wait, what? Oh, Taysom. I was kidding. I thought for a second I read this as Walker, Dalton, Kincaid, and Tyreek Hill. I was like, what are we talking about? But no, here we are going to go with Darren Waller, then Kincaid, then Hill in our rankings. Now, Edson says 12-team, full BBR, 6-1. Lawrence Kamara, JT Chase, AJ Ingram Smith, Montgomery Moss, any moves. We got offered Zach Moss Kamara plus Devonta Smith for CMC. You want CMC and it's not close here, my man. It's a great team. Like, you don't need to stress about this depth. We're going to get Montgomery back in the long term. I think we just need to be a little bit patient and wait until we get Montgomery back in. Yeah, let's get Montgomery back in here, and then we're going to be fine at depth. The last thing I want to do is sell CMC. Lion says, I heard the pregnancy rumors. Congrats, man. I don't know if this is regarding me being pregnant. I don't know if this is regarding me having 4 of my baby mamas pregnant at the same time. But either way, thank you, my friend. Thank you. Max O'Cream says 12-team PPR. Hollywood and Dallas Goedert for Brian Robinson and Pitts. Give me Goddard over Pitts, Hollywood, Brian Robinson, probably Hollywood. So I'm going to go Hollywood and Goddard. We have JT, Walker, Hunt, Warren. Yeah, so we don't even need help at running back. We have Kyler coming back as well. So we'd have that Hollywood, Kyler stack. So we're going to go with the Hollywood and Dallas Goedert side. Riley says 12-team PPR double flex and Jacobs, Debo for Mixon and DJ Moore. Jacobs, Debo for Mixon, DJ Moore. I think it's a very fair deal. It's going to come down to your personal preference, my friend. Like, I want to tell you Jacobs, but it's hard to look at what he did last week with that usage and act like it's not concerning. Now, Soul Assassin says full BBR starters are Tua, ETN, Barkley, Chase, Moore, Hawkinson, Thielen in the flex. Then on the bench, we have Cousins, Hunt, Stevenson, Smith, Schultz, Browns. Should we change anything or yada, yada, yada? No, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock. So if we were looking at changing something in terms of the starting lineup, it would be nice to get Kareem Hunt in with no Jerome Ford, but we can't start Kareem Hunt. This team's too good at the very top end. And because we are so strong at the top end, I wouldn't mind at all if we wanted to go out there and make a play. I mean, we have that embarrassment of riches here, right? Or if you wanted to potentially go through and sell, say, Ramondre Stevenson and Tua, or Kareem Hunt and Tua, and see if we can go get Josh Allen, see if we can go get Patrick Mahomes, see if we can go get Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. I think that would make a lot of sense. Especially like a running back like Hunt, right? Where when Hunt steps into this type of workload over the next few weeks, we can say, oh, okay, well, yeah, obviously he has a considerable amount of value and he is going to help someone out in your league. But would he help out us if we're starting ETN Barkley anyway and we have Thielen in the flex? In reality, no. So I'd love to, I mean, if we could sell like Hunt and Moore and go get a better wide receiver, I think that'd be interesting. Or maybe like Hunt and Tua and go get a better quarterback. Now, Scarface Patrick says, if Godwin's out, Dobbs or Bourne for the flex. Thanks. Thank you, my friend. Probably going to go Kendrick Bourne, assuming Christian Watson's healthy. Mikhail says, got offered T and Eckler for Kamara and Myers. I'm going to go with Eckler and T. Austin says, would you rather buy low on Olave or Higgins? I'd rather have Olave rest of season, but of course, it's going to depend on the price. Now, Jacob says 10-team PBR 5-2. We have Hurts, AJ, Bijan, Walker, Nico, Andrews, JT, Ridley, London, Evans, Myers, Stroud, Schultz. Maybe 6-2, 7-2. Any thoughts for the playoffs? Obviously, I mean, the initial thing that we go to is, can we make that trade? Say, can we go and get someone like Justin Jefferson? Like, if you could sell maybe Nico Collins and Calvin Ridley, or honestly, Jonathan Taylor, Nico Collins for a player like Justin Jefferson here, that honestly probably would make a lot of sense whenever we have Bijan Robinson and Kenneth Walker, and it's a 10-team league where we're 5-2. Figgy Small says PBR Jacobs, Waddle, Gibbs, Sutton for CMC and Smith. Oh, CMC, not close. 2 running back league. We have JT, Brown, Robinson on the bench. We also have St. Brown, Wilson, London, and Pittman. Yeah, please just go out there and get the best player. Get CMC here, my friend. Joe says 10-team PBR 3-4. I'm sorry, 3 wide receiver, 4-3. Tua, CMC, Eckler, AJ, Waddle, Pickens, Komet, Hall, and then on the bench, Achane, Mixon, London, JSN. Do we trade AJ, Hall, Pickens, and Achane for Kelsey, Puka, and Smith? So going from AJ to Kelsey, lateral move up to you. I would probably rather have Kelsey in a 10-team league. Hall versus Puka up to your roster in a league where you have to start 3 receivers. I'd probably go Breece Hall. Achane versus Devonta Smith. Give me Achane and then Pickens on that side just for the hell of it. I'm probably going to go AJ Brown, Breece Hall, George Pickens, and Devon Achane, but phenomenal team. Great team. Alonso says 2-5. Yes or no? Lamb Olave for Jacobs, Zay, Devonta. Olave to Devonta Smith, downgrade. Lamb to Jacobs and Zay. I think it really does depend on your team. I am concerned about what we have with Jacobs. I like to act like I'm not, but I am. Speedy says 10-team non-BBR league, 3-4. Got offered JT for Keenan Allen. We have Diggs, Ridley, Jordan Addison, Madison, Achane, and Ridley on the IR. Yes or no? I would say hell to the no if this is a full PBR format. I'm considering it since it's a non-PPR league. I would ask at least for another wide receiver piece back in return. But I mean, we're decimated at running back, and obviously running back is so damn important in that non-PPR league. And Keenan Allen, what makes him so valuable is just the reception volume. Inspired to Break coming out saying, start 2, Davis, DeMarcado, Brian Robinson, JSN, and Darnell. We're going to go DeMarcado seeing every snap, and then JSN if we have no DK Metcalf. And if Metcalf does play, then instead probably Gabe Davis. Honestly, I'm not playing Brian Robinson. Not against Philly. Not when he's losing this role. Charlie says Pittman, Collins, Rice, Stevenson, James Cook, White. Full BBR. Need a running back, a receiver, and a flex. Wide receiver, we're going to go Pittman. Running back, we're going to go James Cook. And for the flex, we're going to go Rachaad White as well. The reason being is those latter 2 running backs just get such a nice guarantee with their touches on a week-to-week perspective. Like, I would love to pivot off James Cook. We could if you had no Damian Harris, but I'm sorry, if Damian Harris was playing, but with no Damian Harris, I think you have to play him. Now, Metro Boomin says we have Lawrence Kyler got offered Lamb, Burrow, Kincaid for Kelsey and AJ. He also has Jefferson, 5-2 record with Higgins on the bench. Kelsey, AJ Brown to CD Lamb, massive downgrade. Kelsey to Burrow, Kincaid, massive downgrade. Do not do that. Please just rely on Kyler in the long-term upside of, Lawrence in the long-term upside of Kyler. Thomas says, need a running back and 2 flex spots. Henderson, Foreman, Jones, Watson, Bourne, and Dell. We're going to go Henderson at running back. And it's going to depend on what we have in terms of injury updates. We're going to be looking at Watson, Jones, Foreman as our options. We need to monitor the Aaron Jones practice reports and if Roschon Johnson will play or not. If Roschon does not play, then Foreman is a must-start guy. If Roschon plays, I really don't want to go with him. So I think it's too early to tell right now. Just don't start Bourne, don't start Dell. But Jared says 12-team PPR double flex. We have Allen, Etienne, Taylor, Jacobs, Achane, Roschon, Diggs, Adams, Olave, Godwin, JSN. Do I move on from Jacobs without having Adams as well? Got offered Brees or Saquon for Jacobs? I was about to tell you, no, you cannot sell Jacobs because we're just simply not going to get anything for him. But if you could sell Josh Jacobs for Saquon Barkley, you need to do that in a heartbeat, my friend. I'm not doing it because we have Adams. I'm more so doing it because I am just worried about this Jacobs profile overall at the moment if you're looking at the efficiency here. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's get Saquon Barkley. Now, Kevin says 10-team, Happy BR double flex. 2 and 5. We have Bijan, Hunt, Herbert, Garrett Wilson, McLaurin, Waller. The flex, DK Higgins. And then on the bench, Roschon, Pierce, Judy, Bourne. Who are we going to start? Charbonnet, Dillon, Curtis Samuel, Zay available. Do we pick anyone up? I would drop Chuba Hubbard and pick up Zach Charbonnet. I think he has more upside long term. And you have Miles Sanders fully practicing now. So it looks like Sanders will be good to go. In terms of changing anything around in the starting lineup, I'd say the worst guy in the lineup here is probably going to be Terry McLaurin. Would I start Jerry Jeudy over McLaurin? Probably not. Would I start Bourne over McLaurin? Probably not. So really, I just think that the only thing that we do is optimize for long-term upside, and I think that does include dropping Chuba Hubbard for Zach Charbonnet. David says Ford and Pollard for Henry and Jefferson. I'm going to go Henry and Jefferson relatively easily. Anthony says 4 and 3, 12-team PPR. We have Herbert, Madison, Aaron Jones, Mixon, Diggs, Adams, Pittman, Addison, Laporta, Pitts, Dillon, McKinnon, Charbonnet. Any trade ideas? Pittman for a running back and a running back for an RB upgrade. I would love it if you can pull it off. Like if we can sell Pittman and Alexander Madison and go get a better running back, let's do it, my friend. Just going back to what we were talking about previously, this is one of those deals like it's easier said than done. But I mean, maybe it doesn't matter if you sell Pittman or Addison. Go and offer other people in your league. Just send out the feelers and go, hey man, you can have Pittman or you can have Addison. You know, just give them that option and let them choose which direction they're going in. Now, Ben's Mafia says 14-team full BBR where we have Tua, Jones, Pierce, Diggs, St. Brown, Ingram, Adams. And then on the bench, we have Love, Sutton, DeMarcado, Reynolds, Royce, Javonte. Should we trade Pearson, Sutton for Ramondre Stevenson? Yes. My only hesitation is with this being that 14-team format, wide receiver depth is going to matter just a little bit more here. But at the same time, we do have Diggs, St. Brown, and Devontae Adams. So I think that even if wide receiver depth matters a little bit more, ultimately, we are in a fine spot, right? So I do think that we go ahead and we make that play. And thank you so much for being such a long-time member of the flock, my man. You know I appreciate you. And I'm sorry if I'm kind of seeming out of it or looking dazed. We've been live for almost 4 hours today, and today's day 180 in a row. So at some point, we're going to be losing steam. But Pride says 18 BBR, 4 and 3. Would you trade Puka for Jefferson straight up? 8-team league? Hell yes. I mean, 8-team league, the depth's going to be easy to come by. And we also have Tua, JT Swift, Diggs, Lamb with DJ Moore. And Garrett Wilson on the bench. Yeah, I mean, if DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson on the bench, this is exactly what we're talking about, right? Like, to find that fill-in for what we have right now, it's just going to be much easier than it would be in like that 14-team league. So yeah, just go get Jefferson, get the long-term upside. James says, what's good, Mason? 10-team, 5 and 2. We have Allen, Pacheco, Connor, Foreman, Hunt, Chase, Jefferson, Olave, Higgins, Rice, Andrews. Got offered Pacheco, Olave, Jefferson. For Cup, Brian Robinson, Devonta Smith. How did I do in any other ideas? First off, phenomenal team. Phenomenal team. Second off, 5-2, Cup to Jefferson. Makes sense. I don't want to be adding to it, though. But then we go Brian Robinson to Isaiah Pacheco. Big time upgrade. We go from Devonta Smith to Chris Olave. I think that's an upgrade as well. Phenomenal spot. And now, honestly, we just got to sit on our hands and wait until we get Jefferson back. Wait until we get Connor back. And then obviously, hopefully as the season progresses, if we get a healthier Joe Burrow, then both Chase and Higgins should be better. To the Max says 10-team PBR single flex. Offered James Cook, Barkley, and Olave for Tyreek Hill. Probably going to keep Tyreek. We have Mixon, White, Aaron Jones, Javonte. Yeah, so we have plenty of depth. 10-team single flex league. Give me the best player. Give me Tyreek Hill. My only hesitation in saying this, obviously, is we are going to have to continue to monitor the Tyreek Hill injury. But as it stands right now, I mean, I think that we are fine to go through and we're fine to make this play. Now, Jawak says, have BBR Dameon Pierce or Deonta Foreman with Roshan logging full practices. It's tough. I honestly may end up going Dameon Pierce. Yeah, Dameon Pierce has the much better matchup. And then also have Spears and Brian Robinson, but benching unless Henry shade. I think that's the right call to have. I think we're going to go Dameon Pierce over Deonta Foreman. Of course, I want to say Hugga Morans. Let's go with our guy. But if Roshan's playing, I'm not too confident in his workload. Ethan says, traded Mostert, DK, Flowers, Kincaid for Jones, Pittman, Lockett, Hawkinson. What are your thoughts? And who should we target with Lockett, Kyron? Appreciate you. Appreciate you, my man. Mostert to Aaron Jones, downgrade. DK to Pittman, upgrade. Flowers to Lockett, downgrade. Kincaid to Hawkinson, upgrade. I think it's a fair deal, and it is going to be up to you. And then if you're going to be looking to sell Lockett and Kyron, I don't think you're going to get a ton, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, if you could pivot over and look at like Jahmyr Gibbs, I think that makes sense. Maybe Josh Jacobs, Mixon, Henry, JT. If we could do that, then sure. I just don't know realistically what price point we're getting now. Now, Dustin coming out saying 12-team PBR double flex, 3 and 4. We have Burrow, Kyler, Jefferson, Kupp, Puka, Addison, Gabe, Osborne, Kamara, Kyron, Latavius, Royce, Fournette, Logan Thomas. Cut Leonard Fournette, my friend. It's about that time. And then got offered Burrow, Addison for Hawkinson and Jacobs. What are your thoughts? I think Hawkinson to Addison is a downgrade. Jacobs to Burrow is going to be a downgrade as well. I think what I would much prefer doing is just going... Oh, actually, no, we have Burrow. Oh, yeah, so I would go make that trade for Hawkinson and Jacobs. Yeah, let's get Hawkinson, Jacobs here, and then let's cut Leonard Fournette and go pick up another quarterback off the waiver wire, and we could stream for the next few weeks as we wait for us to eventually get back in Kyler Murray, or get Kyler Murray in for the first time, of course. Now, Fat Pig, mean name, my man, says 10-team full BBR, 6-1 record. Should we trade away Bijan to get Kyron and HN? Hell no. Current running backs are Bijan, Mixon, Madison with Hunt on the bench. I understand the thought process, but it just in my mind, I don't necessarily think that we can pencil in these guys. Like, do I think when they come back, do I think Devon Achane is better than Bijan Robinson when he comes back from his injury? No, I do not. Do I think Kyron Williams is better than Bijan when he comes back from his injury? No, I do not. So, while I like the idea, I don't even know if we're getting the guaranteed long-term upgrade. So I'd say you're probably not doing it, my friend. Now, Gibbs says 12-team PBR double flex. Trade Mostert, Garrett Wilson for Olave, James Cook, Debo, Amari. We have HN on the IR, and Garrett doesn't start for me. Do we do this? Garrett to Olave, lateral move. Mostert to James Cook, downgrade. We get Debo. We get Demercado. I don't care about Demercado. So we get Debo, essentially. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I probably would maybe look to do this next week. I just think that this week, while you still have no Achane, and you have the Dolphins as such massive favorites, I think you're just selling Mostert maybe a little bit too low. Where last week you just had a very tough matchup. Now, Bazuchu coming out saying 10-team PBR 6-1. Would you trade Walker and Myers for Jefferson and Spears? We have Lamar, CMC, Walker, Kyron, Waddle, Amon-Ra, Pitts, Hopkins. Yes, I would. I definitely think that we are not getting that. We're not getting a great discount here. But if we are 6-1 in a 10-team league where we have a loaded up roster, let's go just overpay for Jefferson. It doesn't matter. Now, Zeus says, start one running back. Hunt, Sanders, Brian Robinson, or Foreman. I'm going to go Hunt, my friend. I think that you will have Roshan good to go this week. And with Roshan being good to go, I think it's going to be much more difficult to go through and rely on, Deonta Foreman to have that same workload. Now, Cash Money says 10-team BBR 3 and 4. Get Brown, Etienne for Puka, JT, Thomas, London. Give me Brown over Puka. Give me Etienne over JT. Thomas, London, not going to matter too much. So, yeah, let's go Brown, Etienne, especially if we look at this team. Hopefully, Anthony Richardson's on the IR. If he's not on your IR, just go ahead and cut him, my friend. But I think that's all we have here, ladies and gentlemen, for this live stream. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog, promo code FLOX going to give you a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, a Josh Allen special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for the game tonight. And the game tomorrow night. It's not midnight yet. And then also an additional Flock exclusive special pick of Amon-Ra St. Brown, more than less than half a total yard. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you and really hope I get to see you out in the live stream tomorrow night.